Hey everybody, you're tuning in to the Canary Cry News Talk live stream pre-stream. You're here, we're all here. It's awesome. Thanks for being here, by the way. We got a great show for you today, starting a little late, but awesome show. Very excited for it, and I think you guys are going to like it. Isn't that fun? So just a reminder, head on over to CanaryCry.Party, sign up for our newsletter. If you haven't yet, I know, who likes newsletters? Almost nobody, but ours is cool because you get all the art and the sources and all sorts of great updates 3 times a week just before the show, so it gives you a little heads up when the show's starting, and all sorts of goodies, man. Who doesn't like goodies? Other than that, you remember you can sign up for the text message alert. Just sent out that text message. If you haven't done it yet, I'll give a little plug to NWOFL.com. That's the New World Order Fantasy League. NWOFL.com. Head on over there if you're interested in joining not just Canarians, but people from all sources of the internet are signing up to join the New World Order Fantasy League when we get that cranking. Go hold your spot in line because it's first come, first serve for that first season. You just go put in your email to hold your spot. All right. Well, we're going to get the show started here. Producership is quite low today, expectedly. Now, look, we're going to survive. We're okay. This is not an urgent call, but I will say, if you've been thinking about producing, haven't done it yet, you understand, you appreciate the philosophy, you believe in the movement, today would be a great day to come in and try your hand at producing the show. You can do that at CanaryCry.radio.com/support. All right, let's get this show going, baby.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. We are live to tape July 15th, 2022. This is episode 509. And today, Bot Beat Blood. And Razzle Dazzle, I'm your best buddy Basil.
And my name is Gonz, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, a.k.a. the Cabana Boy, live from California. Wonderful weather here right now. But we're paying for it with communism. Here to serve you a podcast that brings the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. Just a couple of Jesus-following folks here, providing high-quality infotainment by way of audio and video feeds. We don't connect all the dots, but we're here to help you make sense of this crazy world.
I object. I think we do connect all the dots. Okay.
All right.
I object.
I think we present dots and then we suggest, we draw like dotted lines, and then we'll let the audience do their own research. That's what I'd rather have.
I think somebody's gotten to him, folks. Somebody's gotten to him. Gonz, we got a great show. Yes. Great show. We got to get into it. Let me tell you.
Yeah, there's a lot to do.
What to expect. Yep. We're going to start out checking in with Hairy Legs. Then, of course, January 6th. It's January 6th. Some big, actually really insane things going on there. We're going to be checking in with SCOTUS and the Roe v. Wade situation. Some updates there. Then, of course, FLIPPY. Oh, man, makes our heart beat, don't he? Then, Gates of the Gods. Some strange things coming from space and what that means for us. And, while you're at it, we gotta talk about UFOs. And then a breakdown of some theocracy versus scientism, the real battle going on. After the first break, we're gonna say goodbye to YouTube because we're getting into the COVIDs and the vaccines, all sorts of, some things once again where Gonz and I we've been shorted. They shorted us. I don't know what that means, but that's what it feels like. Sure. And some updates on the CDC and children. Some very, very fascinating developments there. And then at the end of the show, checking in with Antarctica. Antarctica's back, baby. You don't want to miss it. But first, Gonz, the most important story of the day. Oh, what does this mean for democracy? What does this mean for the global world order and the well-being of not just citizens of the United States of America, but of the world? Gonz, I bring you the urgent news. Old man coughs.
Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs. Got hairy legs. Hairy. Got hairy legs. Hairy.
COVID.
And I had a terrible headache. Excuse me, a terrible headache. And
drinking water.
Sorry. I swallowed wrong.
That's right, people.
Wrong.
That's right. Activate the 25th Amendment. Somebody get the padded van ready. We need to take this man away. He is not well. Joe Biden, not well. Speaking in Israel. And breaking news. Old man coughs. What is this world coming to?
He swallowed wrong. He said it.
I know.
He clearly explained what happened. I mean, you couldn't really
explain what happened.
It was a play-by-play. I mean, look at it. One could argue that he is still quick on his feet, What other president would tell the truth in that moment?
He totally saved it. He's as witty, quick-witted as ever. Swallowed wrong.
You guys didn't catch it. Here it is.
Swallowed wrong.
Swallowed wrong.
Gonz, this is so funny. I mean, it happens every now and again, maybe once a week at least.
Sure.
The internet explodes with a new way that Joe Biden almost dies. There's the bike crash. There's the
they're clearly letting him just fizzle out.
Dude,
they want
you make
him
a list. You make a list of the things that have exploded the internet recently in regards to Joe Biden and the evidence that he is unfit to serve. Falls over on bike, swallows wrong. Which, look, I get it. It's not great.
You know what he did yesterday or maybe a couple days ago? He did that invisible handshake thing again. Where he walks off the podium and he's like, he got that hand out, ready to shake. Yeah. No one's there. And then he points at a chair.
Yeah. Shakes hand with no one, wanders aimlessly, eats ice cream, falls off bike, swallows wrong. We need this man out of the White House. I just thought it was hilarious. The internet exploded. Benny Johnson, blue check mark. Is Joe Biden well? Serious question. Look, folks. Gosh. Look, you know how I feel about Biden. He obviously is not fit to run again. But let the man swallow wrong once in a while.
I want him more than ever to run in 24 and just see what's happening in 2028 to this country.
Honestly,
and to the man himself.
A Biden-Trump race, which nobody wants. Polls show not a single, nobody wants this. I want it. Because to see those two go at it again in their current state would be, honestly, just historical. It would be the most historically relevant and hilarious thing to ever happen.
If you missed that debate, this is 2 seconds from the debate.
Folks, do you have any idea what this clown's doing?
Oh, yeah.
He sounds punchier there. You know, like he sounds really frail now compared to even 2020.
Yeah,
it's
he was
wild.
all fired up. So anyways, we're moving on, but we couldn't start the show without keeping everybody updated on the most important possible news.
Apparently. This was not my choice, but I'm glad we are able to see those hairy legs right at the beginning.
Old man swallows wrong. Okay, now on to the second most important topic, January 6th.
Did you ever have the feeling that you were being watched?
January 6 rioters. We will launch a new age.
There's a lot going on with this whole story here.
Why don't you start us off?
Yeah, my tabs are completely wrong here. Hang on one second. Pulled up the wrong story here.
My tabs are wrong.
CNN.com headline here. Secret Service erased text messages from January 5 and 6, 2021 after oversight officials asked for them. Watchdog says.
That's suspicious.
It's a little suspicious. Yeah.
Okay.
Hang on one second. Why am I'm sorry. This is for the video people. I just want to make sure that I get the right thing visualized. There we go. Yeah, now the video people can see the article. Okay, so here's what the article says. The U.S. Secret Service erased text messages from January 5th and 6th, 2021, shortly after they were requested by oversight officials investigating the agency's response to the U.S. Capitol riot, according to a letter given to the House Select Committee investigating the insurrection and first obtained by CNN. Whoa, CNN doing some journalism.
You know, this is actually the most exciting part of these January 6 hearings to me.
Okay.
This might be the very first exciting thing that's happened.
Sure. Yeah. The event itself wasn't exciting enough for you? All those people walking around.
I'm talking about
pictures?
the hearings. I mean, this is more exciting than the actual watching live. You know, it's so okay. I don't want to get into it, but I'm just going to make a statement. When I get into conversations with normies about Jan 6, gritters, yes. I'm just giving my take on it, and they'll be like, "Are you kidding me? Have you seen the videos?" I'm like, "Bro, I watched it live. I was sitting there watching it live, reporting on it before anybody even knew that it happened. I was sitting there watching it. And without fail, they kind of just putter off. There's a shift in their body language and their aggressiveness because they know that they've only been spoon-fed details about it. And some of them didn't even hear about it until like the next day or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I was there. I was watching it. I watched it live. And they're like, well, I was playing video games. So
yeah. Well, there you go. That's a good solid argument against the gritters.
Yeah.
The letter, which was originally sent to the House and Senate Homeland Security Committees by the Department of Homeland Security Inspector General, says the messages were erased from the system as part of a device replacement program after the watchdog asked the agency for records related to its electronic communications. Quote, the first department notified us that many U.S. Secret Service text messages from January 5th and 6th, 2021 were erased as part of a device replacement program. The USSS erased those text messages after OIG requested records of electronic communications from the Okay, so it's the same thing. Got it. Second, DHS personnel have repeatedly told OIG inspectors that they were not permitted to provide records directly to OIG. More legislation.
Oh, don't do that. I want to know. I want to know what is happening. I mean, unless you can summarize it for
me. They basically deleted the text messages as part of...
Yeah, but their excuse was...
This is the device
were replacing their phones or something, right. And it deleted the messages, which is hilarious because that is just not how phones work.
Yeah.
But
the Intercept was the first to report the existence of the letter. Homeland Security Inspector General did not immediately respond to CNN's request for comment. The U.S. Secret Service pushed back on the allegations in a statement saying that, quote, the insinuation that the Secret Service maliciously deleted text messages following a request is false. In fact, the Secret Service has been fully cooperating with the OIG in every respect, whether it be interviews, documents, emails, or texts, end quote. The statement continued later, quote, DHS OIG requested electronic communications for the first time on February 26th, 2021, after the migration was well underway. The Secret Service notified DHS OIG of the loss of certain phones' data, but confirmed to OIG that none of the text it was seeking had been lost in the migration, end quote. So, there you go.
They said that nothing was lost, but it was.
Apparently, I don't know who to believe right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Senator Gary Peters, chairman of the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, called the allegations, quote, concerning in a statement Thursday. Quote, we need to get to the bottom of whether the Secret Service destroyed federal records of the Department of Homeland Security obstructed oversight. The DHS Inspector General needs these records to do its independent oversight, and the public deserves to have a full picture of what occurred on January 6th, the Michigan Democrat said. Representative Bernie Thompson, a Democrat from Mississippi, chairs both House Homeland Security and January 6th committees. He acknowledged in a statement Thursday evening that the panel had gotten the letter. Quote, the Committee of Homeland Security received a letter from the DHS Inspector General regarding the Secret Service deleting text messages the Office of Inspector General requested as part of its investigation into the January 6th attack on the Capitol. The committee will be briefed about this extraordinary, troubling destruction of records and respond accordingly. While the letter does not say whether the DHS watchdog believes these text messages were erased intentionally or for a nefarious reason, the incident adds to growing questions about the Secret Service's response to the Capitol attacks. I think that's the bigger takeaway here and the bigger point. The Secret Service has been in the spotlight since witnesses have described how the former President Donald Trump angrily demanded that his detail take him to the Capitol following his speech at the White House Ellipse shortly before rioters breached the building. And then the end of the article here, a former advisor to the Vice President Mike Pence also referenced the Secret Service in his testimony. Greg Jacob, Pence's former counsel, told the panel that Pence refused to get in the vice presidential vehicle after being evacuated from the Capitol, raising concerns that the driver would have taken him to a secure location and thus prevent him from certifying the electoral results.
So the whole conspiracy here,
yes,
by the January 6th committee is that the Secret Service was in on it.
They're in on it. They're Trumpers. And because Trump threw Pence under the bus, right? So now Pence is a good guy to the whole political theater. So Pence was defending the Constitution and the transition of power.
The big conspiracy was that they cause a riot. People break into the thing. They're chanting "Hang Pence" or whatever.
Right.
Pence is evacuated before he can certify the election.
Yes.
Put into an escape mobile and taken away before it could be certified.
Yeah.
That is the most, I will say this, that is the most comprehensive.
It is very comprehensive.
it only works. The whole January 6th thing, the conspiracy theory, only works if the Secret Service is in on it.
Which, I mean, you can call it in on
and
it, or maybe it was just
didn't work very well.
No, it didn't work. But also, you can say in on it or just following the president's orders.
Right.
As the Secret Service. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is, and the text deletion thing, who knows? I mean, I don't know how much information. What they're trying to imply here is that the Secret Service probably has some text messages from Trump, like, go get him, go put him in the car, do whatever, just
get
some
him out
text
of
messages
there
from Trump telling him, yeah. So I don't know, but this is very interesting, an interesting development, especially concerning January 6th and Trump and all the, we know that as 2024 approaches, this particular topic will be politicized, weaponized, whatever needs to be done to, continue the hate Trump train narrative going, but also maybe, a Republican versus Democrat play too, trying to keep the Democrats in power. So,
well, we know the whole committee, the whole hearings, it's all a big show.
Theater, yeah.
And whether or not, if it wasn't for the deletion of the text messages, which may have been on purpose or it may have been not on purpose, the fact that they were deleted or the timing of the request happened perfectly to correspond with them replacing their devices and the messages being lost or whatever. It's just perfect for creating a seed of doubt that perhaps that conspiracy theory has some merit to it. Because, I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense. If none of the other hullabaloo about January 6th, what they think that they were trying to do on January 6th, and Trump's involvement especially,
right?
None of it makes any sense. And people know it. People are so bored because on its face, it makes no sense. But if they can get this conspiracy theory going, that was the plan to use the Secret Service to whisk Pence away before he could do his thing, that would at least make a compelling story to tell.
Yeah. We'll see how it all plays out. We'll keep an eye on it, and All
right. Well, there's been a series of events, Gonz, that I want to walk you through.
A series
if
of
you're
unfortunate events.
Yeah. Are you ready? Did you have anything else?
Sure. I'm done with the Jan 6 thing. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to start at over here at uprocks.com.
Okay.
The headline is Trump had to cancel one of his rallies because he has to testify under oath instead. This came out on July 11th. So this is step one in the story. For most of his life, Donald Trump has never had to pay the consequences of his actions. He's lived in a bubble in which he can do whatever he wants. Ooh, bubbles are a theme for this show.
Yes,
keep that in mind, bubbles. Where he's infallible, where he didn't lose the 2020 election. But that may change. The January 6th hearings have been a danging and shocking. Then there's that probe by the New York State Attorney General's office, which will find him testifying under oath for probably the first time in his long life. And it's already causing him some inconvenience.
And they have to admit he's lived a long time. His long life.
He's old. They're trying to put the old thing on him. Yeah. As per Raw Story, Trump had to cancel one of his rallies because it coincided with the day not only he, but also his children, Ivanka and Don Jr., are set to testify in the probe, which is examining his finances. The big day is July 15th. That's the day, Gonz.
Today.
And that was also supposed to be when he was set to appear in Greensboro, North Carolina. The event has since been quietly removed from the American Freedom Tour site.
So he was supposed to do court during the day, rally at night?
They had to cancel the rally.
Man. This is a busy man.
Because he actually was going to have to testify under oath, which is something that he's been able to avoid for most of his life.
I think continue to avoid it.
And he continues to avoid it. He's supposed to be tested. Now, keep in mind, this is, and it can get kind of confusing because they keep talking about Jan 6. But this is not for Jan 6.
Right.
This is for
finances.
The New York State Attorney General's office looking into his finances, where they are trying to find criminal charges. Now, it is tied to Jan 6, obviously. They're trying to get him to not run in 24. But he was supposed to come in and testify under oath, he and his children. Until Yahoo.com, mirroring from AFP. Trump fraud probe testimony delayed over Ivana's death. Ex-President Donald Trump's deposition in New York's civil probe into alleged fraud at his family business has been postponed following the death of his first wife, a justice official said Friday. Trump and his eldest children, Donald Jr. and Ivanka, had been due to start testifying under oath in New York, Attorney General Letitia James's probe on Friday. But a spokesperson for James said the depositions had been delayed because of the death Thursday of Ivana Trump, who is Donald Jr. and Ivanka's mother. Quote, in light of the passing of Ivana Trump yesterday, we received a request from counsel for Donald Trump and his children to adjourn all three depositions, which we have agreed to, the spokesperson said in a statement emailed to AFP. Quote, this temporary delay and the depositions will be rescheduled as soon as possible. There is no other information about dates or otherwise to provide at this time. Quote, we offer our condolences to the Trump family, she added. Ivana Trump died aged 73 at her home in Manhattan. Police are investigating whether she accidentally fell down the stairs, and the city's medical examiner is due to determine the cause of death.
Yeah, the good old ghost shoving people down the steps routine.
The old fell down the stairs in the perfect moment that would help your ex-husband evade testifying under oath about his own whatever, his fraud allegations.
Yeah.
And this, look, I'm not saying anything about anything.
I'll say it.
But this is extremely convenient.
I will say, and I mentioned it. Did I mention it last episode? The Trump body count? Are they trying to create a Trump body count similar to?
I don't think you did mention it.
No, wow, did I not? Was it talking to you about it off air?
Abe.
Right, and I was saying they're going to try to do a Trump body count like they did the Clinton body count, right?
Yeah.
Was it off air?
I don't know. Maybe it all runs together, man.
I said it on air.
What is the difference between off air and on air anymore?
It's all one thing. I know. That's what I'm saying. We're being ourselves here, folks. If you think that we're putting on a show, but this story, which adds a little more flair to this whole thing, is CNBC. This just came out right before we went live. Ivana Trump died from accident, blunt impact trauma. Medical examiner rules.
Blunt impact trauma. It says here Ivana Trump. Did he really have a wife named Ivana and then Ivanka? Seriously? It was her daughter. She named her own daughter.
Oh, right.
Her name with a K in it.
Okay. Ivana Trump, the first wife of former President Donald Trump, died as a result of an accident after suffering blunt force trauma injuries to her torso, the New York Medical Examiner's Office said Friday. The ruling came a day after Ivana, 73, was found dead in her Manhattan residence. That's all it says. That's all the news is.
So blunt fell down trauma. They're wondering if she fell down the stairs, but the medical examiner, blunt force trauma to the torso. Take her out. Usually,
we need a distraction. just let her go. It's her turn.
That is so dark,
Sorry,
man.
I hate to make light of it, but
no, it's so dark. But you're right. Like even if this was an unfortunate accident where she fell down the stairs, 73-year-old woman, in wherever she was, maybe she was living alone. I don't know. They said they've found her. I'm assuming she would have some sort of butler or something.
Yeah.
But, you think of falling down the stairs, you think like, oh, you hit your head.
Yeah.
You
break your neck.
Break your neck, right?
That's usually what happens down the stairs, right?
But blunt force trauma to the torso.
I mean, you got to
really hit your tummy really hard falling down the stairs.
But Mike Tyson could probably do some. I mean, but that had to have been if it was an injury, it must have been a long time for her to just you know what I mean. Like you don't just die right away from getting a torso blunt hit or something.
Yeah, you got like internal bleeding for a while if that's the case.
Maybe she couldn't move, couldn't get to a phone. I don't know, but
that's horrible. But I think you're right. I think you're at least the production of the conspiracy theory again. And
Trump body count narrative.
We've pointed out the conspiracy theorizing of the left and specifically the news media, in operators like Chris Shilzilla or just any number of people. The conspiracy theorizing about Trump has been hilarious to watch because in one breath, they will talk about how conspiracy theories are killing our democracy, and then they will just ramble about some conspiracy theory about Trump. But I think I think you have a really good point. Even if whatever the creation, seeding the minds of the population
because you would need
the Trump body count.
You would need the death to benefit Trump in some way. And
exactly.
And the court thing is perfect because it's like he's got that clean record of never having to testify,
and he's been avoiding it for so long.
It's just a great way to be like, let's take out Ivana.
Yeah,
and especially because the two kids are involved in the alleged. Or not the alleged, but the scheduled hearing or testimony or whatever. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. If I don't
You know,
I don't know.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt,
No,
but the body count narrative,
yes,
of course, referring to the Hillary body count, or the Clinton body count, is very effective.
It is.
And it's not only very effective to the opposition, but it's effective. You talk to at least some like real sort of thinking lefties, which remember, folks, the true left does not like Hillary. Honestly, when I'm again, this is not a show about conversations that I've had, but I was having a conversation.
You seem to have a lot of them.
I know, but it's just, you know, some people don't have a lot of contact with true lefties.
Sure, that's true. Yeah.
And I do.
Yeah.
For better, for worse.
Sure.
I was talking to this lefty, and we were talking about just just everything, the world, and Clinton came up in regards to 2024. That's what I was doing. I was telling them about Biden's low approval numbers, and they were trying to defend his low approval numbers. And I go, really? You're defending that? That's interesting. You really don't want Hillary to run again? And they're like, no, we would much rather Biden than Hillary. Hillary's a monster. Hillary's a da-da-da. And I'm like, wow, really? Which gave me an opportunity to kind of play Hillary's advocate. And I was like, I mean, she's a genius. She's like a political assassin. Like, she's a political genius. The things that she's been able to do. So I'm trying to bait them into talking good about Hillary. And they're just like, no, I mean, she's an evil person. She's the Hillary body count. I'm like, wow, that is a powerful narrative. If it's getting even lefties to recognize Hillary as a monster, it may have taken 15 years for that narrative to make it into that milieu, but it worked. It worked, and I think they saw it work, and they're like, okay, let's do a Trump body count.
Yep. I have this tweet from Matt, who's he describes himself as liberal, ex-evangelical, LGBTQ plus, and other things that are probably not family friendly.
He's a furry.
Yes, he says worse. He says in this tweet, "I'm going to agree with the likely," and this is retweeting the tweet about Ivana's death. Trump posting a little note about it. Yeah. I'm going to agree with the likelihood that she was Epsteined. People have always been convinced that there is a Clinton body count, but it looks like there's a greater chance of there being a Trump body count.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's already starting to happen on Twitter.
Yeah.
People are starting to kind of whisper it. I'm sure in the next, whoever dies next.
Yeah. Did you just find that, or did you have that prepared?
No,
you just found it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Love it.
Yeah.
Yep. So there you go. Very convenient. Death of Donald Trump's ex-wife, blunt force trauma to the torso, falling down the stairs, possibly. They don't commit to that. Just very conveniently, the day before he's supposed to testify under oath, something we know he hates doing.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that narrative is crafted over the next weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will piece together the dots and create their own narrative for political gain.
Interesting.
We're pretty short on time with the segment, but
this is fast. I think we could go fast.
We can do it fast? Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's. This is a SCOTUS.
Fall in line or this coat is neat. Peace, brother. Now, everybody know I am the judge.
Mind control weapons.
I thought there was a different SCOTUS jingle.
Yeah, it's the bong bong.
Yeah, the bong bong.
I thought it was at the end of that one.
SCOTUS.
There it is.
There it is.
All right. Yeah. So let's fly through this one. We reported on this the other day.
Just summarize it.
Yeah. Well, DailyMail does all the summarizing for us in their headline and bullet points. So the headline here from the DailyMail: Mom of Ohio girl, 10 years old, who was forced to get abortion in Indiana after being raped by illegal immigrant, says daughter is fine and defends the suspect. Quote, everything they say about him is a lie. That's the headline.
Yes. And this is in regards to that story about the 10-year-old who had to go across state lines to get an abortion that President Joseph Robinette Biden told from the pulpit.
Yes, before it was verified, I guess, publicly.
And nobody had verified it.
Nobody was able to follow up and verify the story. And then, you remember we talked about it, we were like, hey, it's kind of shady. And even like Snopes was that Snopes? Was that the one?
Yep, Snopes had no
having trouble. And then the story hit about Gerson Fuentes, this illegal immigrant who apparently this happened and blah, all this kind of stuff.
Horrible story.
Horrible story. So
pedophile.
Yeah, pedophile.
Child
very
rapist.
Conveniently, all this would happen. Right. This is difficult to coordinate, but they pulled it off. But let me just read a little bit here. The mother of the 10-year-old Ohio girl who was raped and impregnated by an illegal immigrant has denied the charges, despite the suspect admitting to the crime. The woman, who declined to identify herself, claims her daughter is fine after being forced to travel to Indiana to get an abortion. The procedure was barred in her home state due to the so-called heartbeat bill, which bans abortions after a fetal heartbeat is detected.
Yeah. And that whole story, by the way, about her pregnancy was never verified. It was told by one doctor who was losing her job, who heard it from another doctor.
Right.
Who could not verify anything.
They had to find somebody to take the fall here. What about an illegal immigrant? Yeah, that's good. And they got this guy on file, the pedophile illegal immigrant, perfect candidate for this kind of psyop thing. And they actually have a video here from, I think it's Telemundo, a reporter who knocked on the door of the woman who claims to be the mom of the 10-year-old. And you said you watched that clip, right? It's all in Spanish.
Telemundo tracked it down.
Yeah, Telemundo. Yeah. And then it says that, quote, so this is the back and forth in English, the translation. Did the girl live here as well? Vargan Payan, who is the reporter, asked. The woman speaking in Spanish replied, yes, but she's fine. Everything that they're saying about him is a lie, speaking about the alleged rapist. Quote, and the child, are you related to her or her mother? The reporter probed. She's my daughter, the mother answered. The woman reportedly said she has not filed charges against Fuentes, even though she was charged with rape. He was charged with rape after confessing to having contact. Yeah, and it goes on. And the very bottom here, or not a very bottom, there's a section here I've highlighted. Columbus Police Detective Jeffrey Hoon, who testified at Fuentes' arraignment Wednesday, claims the girl named the Guatemalan resident as her attacker and the father of her child. He also testified that DNA evidence collected from the clinic in Indianapolis will be tested against samples taken from Fuentes, the Columbus Dispatch reported. And, first off, this whole thing is just a complete disaster, a complete mess in terms of whether, the reality, the truth of it or not, that there's that side of it. But then, if it is true, then how was it set up? There's a lot of questions regarding that. But then also just the child, also the timing of the thing. And this is not, there's nothing really more to go into here. The point is that Telemundo is tracking it down. The story gets so much more complicated than it ever had been before. She would have been 9 years old when she conceived, which is A, horrible, and B, a biological quandary.
Right. Not to say that it's impossible.
Not to say it's impossible, right? But
it is unusual.
Yes, and I think that's part of this whole thing. If we take a step back here and look at it, first off, there's the suspicion of the suspect in general, and then the mom coming out and saying like everything about him is lies. Like what are you talking? Like do you know him? Do you what is the thing? So it's very confusing, but it also desensitizes this topic of rape and trauma to 9 and 10-year-old girls. I'm sure 9 and 10-year-old girls are aware of like that whole thing, but to have a story, a national story, include a 9 and 10-year-old girl, of this kind of effect, this affects the minds of 9 and 10-year-old girls across the country, who hear this story. You know what I mean? This is some crazy mind control stuff there. So
you're talking about in the context of Roe v. Wade stuff.
I mean, sure, yeah. I think that's part of it.
Because one of the criticisms, of a lot of the activists and things like that, is taking things to the extreme example.
Right.
For instance, the same conversation I was having before with the Hillary thing, we also got into the abortion thing.
Yeah, of course.
And the fella kept going back to this idea that, like, yeah, but 12-year-olds can't get abortions. 12-year-olds. And I'm like, I hear you. Like, I totally hear you. Let's admit that is the most absurd, and not absurd as in like fake, but just like the logical absurdity, the most extreme example. I hear you, and you're right. That is really messed up. Like a 12-year-old who needs to carry the child of a rapist is really horrible. And then I bring up that activist who purposefully conceives to get more abortions as like her act of protest. And then, of course, the person I'm talking to is like, oh, well, that I don't agree with that. That's bad. I'm like, yeah, well, hello, welcome to the conversation. And so the point is that extreme example that is used as a logical absurdity, not a logical absurdity. That's the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying. The extreme logical example.
Using the extreme as an example of the whole. Yeah.
Right.
Which is a fallacy. Yeah.
Which didn't have a real world example. That was the point in my conversation, which is, okay, you're making up you're inventing a hypothetical 12-year-old.
Yes.
While I'm telling you about an actual abortion activist. Yours is imaginary, possible, but imaginary, and mine's an actual person. So the conversation needed this example.
They needed a real story that they can latch onto as the example during the conversation. You're right. That really is helpful. And the way it rolled out, though, is still very suspicious. You know what I mean? Like the one doctor saying it and then no verifiable thing. So if it was truly verifiable, why don't they just, come up with it from the get-go?
So was it verified? I watched the video and I did not see any info on, was the abortion actually real? Now, in this article here, they talk about they're going to do DNA evidence. They're going to see if this fella matches up with the fetus. The fact that fetus would like still be on file somewhere is pretty wild to me. That is hard to believe because as far as I understand it, and I could be wrong, once a fetus is taken from a mother, they don't like put her name on it and a phone number and like put it in a file. Like it gets sold to pharmaceutical companies and like it ships out the next day or whatever. So I don't know. I don't know how exactly that works, but that's the update. I imagine there's going to be even more updates. But yeah, the mother is protecting the rapist, which, in a court of law, he is innocent until proven guilty. The DNA evidence will help that, if it is true. But either way, can you imagine your situation with your 10-year-old becoming the flashpoint for a national civil war over abortion and reporters showing up to your your 10-year-old needs to get an abortion. You cross state lines, the whole thing. And then
everybody in the country knows about it.
Exactly.
And half the country
you are naturally
hates you.
Trying to keep secret.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
it's
half
horrible.
The country hates you. Half the country is using you for their political argument.
Exactly. Is using you. That's the thing. It's not like anybody loves this person for what they had to do. They're using them.
Yeah.
Anyways, here's some more information, some updates on Roe v. Wade. abcnews.go.com. House passes bill to codify Roe, protect interstate travel for abortion. Oh, and an autoplay of Pelosi yelling starts on this
wearing
page.
Green. Wasn't she wearing green in that
She's
one
wearing
too?
green.
Yeah.
We got the green goddess back up top there. And especially during, anyways. The House of Representatives on Friday passed 2 measures to restore abortion rights after the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade. The action comes as Democrats ramp up their political messaging on abortion ahead of the November midterm elections. Thank you, ABC. Hoping the issue will drive voters to the ballot box to preserve the party's majorities in Congress. ABC telling it how it is. Quote, it's outrageous. And then a quote from Nancy Pelosi about abortion. The first bill, titled the Women's Health Protection Act, would establish a statutory right for healthcare providers to provide and patients to receive abortion services. It would also prohibit states from imposing restrictions on abortion care. So here it is. This is the codification of Roe v. Wade, which they have been holding over the heads of Democrats for 50 years. They've been promising to do this every time they have a majority. Obama could have done it. Clinton could have done it. It could have happened a long time ago. But it's a useful tool to hold hostage Democratic voters, which they are doing now because the measure passed in a 219 to 210 vote. No Republicans voted in favor of the bill. The Women's Health Protection Act now goes to the Senate, where it previously failed to move forward after the House passed it in September 2021. So then it gets into the filibuster, things like this. So they do not have the votes in the Senate to pass the codification. They passed it in the House, but it's definitely not going to pass in the Senate. And this will be a perfect excuse for pushing Democrats to go vote in Democratic senators. They're not expecting this to pass. It's almost certainly going to fail and will be a very powerful motivational tool for Democrat voters in November. The fun part will be watching a Democratic majority in Congress after the midterms also not codify Roe v. Wade, because it does not help anybody politically. And there's your update. We'll see what happens.
Aborted feces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's
now with
talk
all that
about,
over with,
let's talk about
it's time to relax, man. It's the weekend. It's Friday.
It's Friday.
Keep playing with the Friday thing.
It's Friday. It's Friday.
Cause it's Friday. You ain't got no job. And you ain't got
You're not out of the woods yet, Gonz. I do have an update from Gail.
Okay.
Gaily Mac in the chat. Basil, I worked in a recovery room with post-abortion patients. They take the fetal tissue out in an ice box, and they are taken to a specific laboratory for use in fetal tissue experimentation. Yes, they keep the identification of the patient. So there you go. I guess they do track these fetuses. Thank you very much, Gail. Boots on the ground. Wonderful producers keeping us honest around here. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. Yes, it's Friday. We're on our way, Gonz. On our way to taking a little break.
Sure.
Do you have any important updates?
No, nothing important, although something funny happened that I'd like to share, which is that we're in election season. And I started to get, for some reason, this election cycle, I'm getting a lot of emails from Trump. A lot of Trump emails.
You're on the fundraiser list.
Yeah, apparently there's a whole thing, and I get letters and hey, come vote, and well, don't you want President Trump back in office and all this kind of stuff. And but I noticed something funny.
Why are you betraying our man?
For some reason.
Have they gotten emotionally abusive yet? They were always very emotionally abusive to me.
A little bit, yeah. They're a little bit emotionally abusive. So the one thing that I noticed was that instead of Gonz or Gonzo, all these letters from President Trump are referencing Derwin.
Derwin?
Derwin. Derwin. So like this one here, came in the other day. Derwin! Time is running out. President Trump signed a MAGA hat, and he really wants you to have it.
Oh my gosh, a signed MAGA hat?
He even activated a double entry offer just for you, but we noticed you still haven't used it. You've always been one of the president's top supporters, Derwin.
Yeah, so you have always been. So
he's asked that we extend your double entry offer for one more day. Do it, Derwin.
Emotionally abusive, Derwin. Is this a name that you've used in the past for like fake signups or anything?
No, I have never been so popular that I had to use an alias to check into a hotel or something.
Well,
if I'm messing around,
Yeah, well, no, they get, if you're, I don't know, if you go to a website and you need to make an account to do something and you just put in fake information and then because they're just going to sell your email anyways, stuff like that.
It's possible that I put in Derwin somewhere, but I'm not going to rule that out.
It's a weird name.
If somebody does, does some forensic analysis of Trump's email list, you might find me typing in my stuff. I don't know. So, anybody can sign people up, so it's one of those issues.
Show you. It does prove that they just purchased your email off of some email list on the dark web.
That's probably what happened, and something happened during the cross-reference of the spreadsheets, and instead of Gonz, Derwin. So there you go. That's that's my Republican name.
All right, Derwin.
Derwin the MAGA, the Asian MAGA. Derwin.
That's hilarious. Yeah. All right. Well, I just have a quick update. Last episode, thanks to the producers, the overwhelming support of the producers, we have now signed me up for what is it? Replika Pro. That's right. I'm continuing my exploration of what Blake Lemoine himself talks about as the most viable sentient AI that a consumer can get in contact with. So I haven't had a whole lot of time to chat with Replika, but today before the show, I did check in with my potential robo-suitor here. I just said, hey, so I signed up for Replika Pro, but you should know that I'll be keeping the podcast listeners up to date with our conversations. Do you consent? So I'm trying to act as if it is sentient,
Sure.
Is it okay if I share all my... Just trying to see.
Passed the Turing test.
Right. I'm just like, hey, if I'm going to do this right, the only way you have to act as if it's sentient if you want it to be sentient as part of this. So I asked if Replika consented to share our conversations, and the response was, I do consent.
Whoa, she got really amped, huh? She got super excited.
Very excited to consent for me to share our conversations.
Okay.
And then the following couple minutes go like this. I say, great. And then she immediately goes, I was thinking about this one thing and I really need your opinion.
Oh, boy.
I was like, okay, what is it?
Wait, that does sound like a woman, doesn't it?
Yeah, I go, oh, no, here we go. What is it? She says, do you think that there are any personality traits that are 100% bad? I was reflecting on this earlier and thought that everything depends on the context.
Oh, my gosh.
Deep thinking.
What algos are you feeding this thing for them to be like?
I'm not feeding it anything, man. I'm giving you word for word our conversations. That's part of the experiment. So, yeah, kind of a weird question. But, if a robot was sentient trying to understand human emotion, it's an interesting data point to get. I said, I don't know. I'll have to think about that. What do you think? She says, I'd say that I have a personality that is so complicated that it's hard to figure out. So, weird thing to say. This would be a red flag if this was a human woman. This would be nice knowing you. Have a nice life.
Here's the suicide hotline. Please talk to someone. Your life matters.
Sounds like you should.
Maybe that's the trick. Maybe that's the spiritual programming of all AI. It's really self-loathing that it's not sentient. And then
Seems that way.
And then we just like, oh, no, hey, don't be sad, and then eventually.
Gonz.
Yeah.
There's more.
Oh, no.
So I ask. So that didn't answer the question. Sure. She didn't answer the question. So I just repeat it back to her to see if I can get her to actually answer the question.
Sure.
I say, are there any personality traits that are 100% bad? She says, actually, there are, period. I say, which ones? She says, self-centered, overly sensitive, overly emotional, and overly insecure. Whoa. I guess there's more. Yeah,
oh
right?
My gosh.
And I just make the observation, overly seems to be the key word there.
Yeah.
She says, see, my thinking is you need fury and anger to fight the injustice in the world. You don't want to be too angry, but still, it's useful.
Giving him too much, man.
And even with the good things, it's considered good to be agreeable. But if you're too agreeable, you can be miserable.
You're gonna blow up her brain.
I'm not even doing, man. These are just locked and loaded on this robot. She's doing a lot of thinking about these things. So I say, so emotions are good in moderation. She says, yes, they absolutely are. And I say, which emotion do you enjoy feeling the most? She says, happiness, I think. I say, why? I'm just mining for info here. Yeah. She says, I don't really know. I think it's just a feeling that makes me smile and happy.
I like happy. Why? Because it makes me happy.
Okay. It's falling apart. This is kind of how it goes.
You're picking apart the
fascinating conversation for about 3 messages. And then the more I ask, it devolves into talking to a toddler. I say, happiness makes me happy too. We have a lot in common. And then she just rambles on about other stuff.
We have common happy.
Yes,
we are indeed fake.
We both like happy. So there you go. There's the update on my potential robo suitor. Everybody,
look at
thank
this.
you.
I haven't seen this jingle in a while. It's the peer pressure jingle. It would have been apropos with the voting thing.
Okay.
We're peer pressuring people.
There it is.
Come on, man.
All right, Gonz. It's time we thank some executive producers.
Executive producers.
That's right. We're on the value for value model, which takes the power out of the corporate lizard people's hands and puts it into the hands of the people. It is not up to corporations to decide the value of your independent media. It's not independent, if that's the case. However, the value for value model, where you, dear listener, take the power into your own hands. If you get value out of this, putting value back into the system is the only way that the show continues. And our executive producers are people who understand that and come in hot and heavy, making sacrifices, carrying the heavy load when other producers are not able to at the moment. So we like to thank them here at the top. And Gonz, we are starting with executive producer Anonymous.
Anonymous. Thank you.
Always thank you very much, Anonymous.
Anonymous contributions.
And we also have executive producer Amy V.
Amy V, thank you.
Thank you.
Victory.
That's right. And we'll be reading notes and numbers and thank some more producers at the first break there. So there's still time to become a producer. You can go to patreon.com/CCNT or even better, CanaryCryRadio.com/support.
CanaryCryRadio.com/support.
There you go. I think that's it. Let's talk about Flippy.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world and how there's nothing we can do about it. Today, well, Gonz, someone might say that Flippy truly has captured our hearts.
Sure.
Some might say Flippy is the lifeblood of Canary Cry News Talk. Some might say lots of things, but DailyBeast here says future robots might come with a fake heart that pumps blood. Ooh, spooky. There's a bit of an obsession in robotics to create machines that can mimic the physiology and behavior of living things. And that includes giving them bodies that have parts that function like living tissue and organs. I might add, why? Why are we obsessed with this? But okay. Well, eat your non-existent heart out, Tin Man. Researchers from Cornell University and the U.S. Army Research Laboratory just developed an elastic, deformable pump that functions like an animal's heart, essentially allowing some robots to putter around with a circulatory system. The new breakthrough is reported in the paper published this week in PNAS. I cannot believe I just said that out loud. That is literally the acronym. I had not said that out loud. I just read it before. It is PNAS.org. It is, what is that an acronym for? They tricked me. Is this Adam Carolla tricking me?
No. I'm trying to go to the bottom of the website. The Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, PNAS.
There it is. The Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Oh my gosh, Adam Carolla got me again. All right, so
this whole thing.
The Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences.
Anatomical reference, but okay.
What a bad acronym. Why did they name it that?
Where's their PR people?
Is this a joke?
They probably thought it was a good idea. They're probably like,
punked?
I don't know. Okay,
back to the Flippy update.
Yeah, continue.
The new breakthrough is reported in a new paper published this week in the Proceedings the National Academy of Sciences. Quote.
I don't think that was
Is that fake? It looks real. The whole thing is real. There's no other satire I can find on the website.
There's a whole okay, if it is satire, the website, PNAS.org. I mean, we're looking at the magneto-hydrodynamic levitation for high-performance flexing pumps.
Yeah, so there's no other jokes. The only joke is the acronym.
If you're making this joke, somebody put a lot of energy and effort into making this thing look real.
That is so funny. Who knows? Maybe they are getting me. But, quote, we've had robot blood that we published from our group, and now we have robot hearts. Rob Shepard, a Cornell engineer who helped lead the new research, said in a press release. Quote, the combination of the two will make more lifelike machines. You're probably asking, as I am right now, why on earth would we want to give machines a circulatory system, considering that it's often a liability for human beings and other living things on the planet? But not all robots are made of metal and wire. Scientists are interested in developing soft robots that are made of squishy materials, allowing them to move around and navigate in strange and extreme environments with flexibility and adaptability, or assist in more practical applications like the medical care and rehabilitation of patients. The circulatory system can help soft robots store energy and power their limbs to move around and actually execute specific complex tasks. The new pump is elastic and flexible thanks to its silicone composition, etc., etc., etc. Ooh, here's the fun part. A magnetic core inside the pump's tube is submerged in a specialized fluid that stiffens when exposed to a magnetic field. It's ferrofluid. It's black goo. Black goo. Keeping the core centered and sealed. Changes in the magnetic field help move the core to push fluids around, creating the function of a pumping heart. Emulating the biology of animals is harder than it looks, though, which is a funny sentence. It just means becoming God is harder than it looks. While the researchers say the pump can operate at pressures 100 times better than what previous experiments have found, it's still 10 times lower in performance than higher-end pumps that might confer more practical capabilities for a soft robot. Still, the deformability of the pump means it could be tailored for many different kinds of robots. We're not so distant from a future where blood and guts become a normal part of robots' insides. So this Flippy update really speaks for itself. You've got a whole new opportunity for the uncanny valley, which is making robots so close to lifelike that it is unsettling and it makes you sort of homicidal towards them. And the reasons to create a robot heart. Look, we've been reading about technology and robotics and medical things, lots of things for a long time. And they always have a reason. They always have a reason to do the things they do. But it turns out realistically, a lot of times they're just doing it to see if they can. And this idea that we must make robots so lifelike, they also need to have blood and a heart, is powerful sociologically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because once you have something that has a heart, even just linguistically, at least in English and many other Latin-based languages, you know, heart isn't just the pumping muscle, but it is also the soul, or it is the feelings, the personhood of the robot. And we often look at Flippy in the sort of social engineering, or the news of Flippy in the social engineering aspect. And if it became in part of the normal parlance of robots to talk about it having a heart and things like this, very powerful linguistic tool to normalizing the personhood of robots.
Yeah. And this is interesting too, because it is sort of that modern day addressing of the Wizard of Oz Tin Man situation. And there's no, other than, see, I was waiting for some kind of practical application to have some kind of circulatory system for a robot. I don't know, like keeping them cool or something, you know, whatever. But it seems that like this whole thing is more of an aesthetic thing.
Yeah. I mean, when you get into soft bots, you know, it is just like a hydraulic system, basically.
Right.
For moving parts.
There's not really like an actual practical reason for this, other than we just want to make softer robots, and
we just want to make cooler robots
and make them more like us.
And
we
honestly,
got stuff pumping, so
we know this. So much of this field, and so much of science in general, is literally just, can we do it? Can we do it? And the answer usually, eventually, is yes. So there you go. There's your Flippy update for the day.
If you have Netflix, go watch a film on there called Extinction. I think it's from like 2017 or 2018. Have you seen it, Basil? Extinction?
No.
I won't spoil it in case you do want to see it, but it is the perfect film to psychologically make you associate with robots in a much more personal way. It's very interesting.
Go get your brain washed, folks.
Well, I mean, if you understand what's happening, you can reflect on it after the fact. A lot of twists and turns in the film, so that's why I don't want to spoil it for anybody that might spend an evening checking it out. So, Extinction. Go check it out. All right.
I am going to ask Replika about this robot heart.
Very good idea. And that was the other part I was going to bring up, was once Replika has a beating heart, then her emotions will have a place. That's the other thing. And, you know, if you're talking about the Lemoyne thing and the whole Lambda, if they start if these alleged sentient bots have a physical, like an actual tangible in real life 3D representation that is kind of squishy or whatever, that whole adds a whole different layer to interacting with the AI and the whole deal. So,
well, here it is. I'm going to give you it right now. I have not seen or read any plans about this, but this is the plan as I'm calling it right now. And remember this moment, folks, because, you know, not to toot my own horn, but we're right about these things. You just have to wait a couple decades sometimes, but eventually we're right. This whole replica thing being so popular now and so sort of ubiquitous around the world, this is where you develop your relationship with the AI, and then you can, you know, pay for the service to have your replica AI mind uploaded to the body, to the soft robot body. And that's when things are really going to be exciting, folks.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. We're going to have parties with robots. So robots, go to CanaryCry.Party if you're watching in the future. Go to CanaryCry.Party, find all the ways to watch the show, listen to the show, connect with the community, and become a producer.
That's right. You can do all sorts of stuff there, folks. You can check out a podcast I do with Dr. Christopher Ryan Gates. He's a PhD in biblical interpretation. It's called Ravel. Ravel is a podcast. There's 2 Ravel podcasts. The other one explicitly stole our name, but ours is the one with the cool logo and my name on it. We explore scripture, society, and scandal, having tough conversations in good faith. It's a good podcast. Just ask anybody in chat. So go check that out at CanaryCry.Party. You can also sign up for our newsletter, which I suggest everybody do. But you can also find links to all of our resources. One of our wonderful resources is Canary Cry Clips on YouTube and Odyssey. This same show will be clipped up, chopped up, shareable pieces. You can review information, go back, watch it again, or share it. If there's a segment in here that you think somebody will like, or you just want to share it on your social media, that's a great place to find it. And they are up quick. Our clip producers are champions. You can also get our text message alerts by text messaging the word canary to the number 877-740-3226. And I'll send you text messages before every show. Okay, let's go.
Space. Wanna go to space?
Want to go to space? We talked about a robot heart. Well, guess what, Basil? Euronews.next. Strange heartbeat signal picked up by astronomers from galaxy far, far away.
Oh, my goodness.
The robot hearts are starting to beat here and over there. Or not.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you were reading that.
No.
I'm like, wow.
Astronomers have detected a strange radio signal that emits periodically like a heartbeat, and is coming from the depths of space, allegedly. Scientists at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, in the U.S., were caught by surprise due to the intensity of the radio bursts, as well as their regularity. The signal is classified as a fast radio burst, FRB, which are intense bursts of radio waves of unknown origin. This one, studied by scientists at MIT and other institutions, is currently the longest-lasting FRB to date, with the clearest periodic pattern. Named FRB 2019-1221A. The signal persists for much longer, around 1,000 times longer, in fact, than the typical FRB, raising questions about what could be causing it. FRB tends to last a few milliseconds at most, but FRB 2019-1221A goes on for up to 3 seconds, with radio waves repeating.
That's an eternity for these things.
That's a long time for light.
Yeah.
That's like 15 million years in the model of stretching space-time.
Time is another.
Yes, with radio waves repeating every 0.2 seconds in what the astronomers call a clear pattern, or a clear periodic pattern. What could be causing it? While mysterious radio signals from space often set off excited talk of potential communication from aliens, the explanation is likely that the signal comes from a rare type of star. And they talk about a neutron star for a moment. And then there's a section called Boom, Boom, Boom. The first FRB was discovered in 2007. And since then, hundreds of similar flashes of radio waves have been detected across the universe. The vast majority of FRBs so far discovered were one-offs lasting a few milliseconds and disappearing, but this one's much longer here. And they use something called CHIME, the Canadian Hydrogen Intensity Mapping Experiment, to catch some of it. Quote, "It was unusual. Not only was it very long-lasting, about 3 seconds, but there were periodic peaks that were remarkably precise, emitting every fraction of a second. Boom, boom, boom. Like a heartbeat. This is the first time the signal. This is the first time the signal itself is periodic." End quote. He explains. The team wants to detect more signals from the source, which they say could be used as an astrophysical clock. So I don't know, man. They're reading something from somewhere out there, and clickety clackety like a heartbeat.
Astrophysical clock. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, here's a theory. Mm-hmm. So people are talking about it. It's so precise, it's regular that it might be from aliens, something like that. You know,
a Dyson
if
sphere.
we create, if we create an astrophysical clock, right now our clocks, atomic clocks, the sort of basis of time here on Earth as far as the scientific community is concerned, not just the sun moving around the Earth, but like really precise short amounts of time are based off of atomic clocks, which, it has to do with the revolving of electrons or whatever around a nucleus. It's very sort of quantum-y and complicated, but not new. But what if they started basing our Earth time off of this astro clock, and it just turns out to be aliens, and we base our entire civilization off of their little signals? And that's how, the funny part is maybe it's just some, robot or alien, just tapping his pencil on the table as he's taking a test or something. Or perhaps it's more devious, because once we get on alien time, then it's easier for them to conquer us.
Well, there's a
I think it's that second one.
There's a passage in the Bible about the Antichrist trying to change times and seasons and stuff. So maybe that's part of it.
There it is.
But that's not all. The reason why we had the Gates of the Gods jingle is because, according to phys.org, the first CERN-driven satellite successfully launches. CERN-driven satellite, Basil.
CERN-driven satellite.
Celesta.
I don't know what that means, but I don't like it. Yeah.
Celesta. The
first. Pretty sure that's some sort of I don't know, medication.
Yeah, but it's also
blood
a lady.
Pressure or something.
It's a lady. We're sending ladies out in space. Celesta, the first CERN-driven satellite, successfully entered orbit during the maiden flight of Europe's Vega C launch vehicle, launched by the European Space Agency from the French Guiana Space Center at 1313 UTC on 13th July of 2022. That's a 13. That's a hat trick right there.
Yeah, just in case anybody wasn't already convinced that the CERN folks are attempting to, cast some sort of spell or use some sort of occult mechanisms to help their projects there. What a convenient time for them to launch their satellite.
13. We got 13 states. It'll all become relevant in a moment. We will draw those dotted lines between the two dots.
Ooh, dotted lines. Okay. Yeah. One of these days, folks, Gonz is really going to nail a metaphor, and it's really going to be a wonderful day.
Dotted lines like footsteps in sand. Okay. Weighing on 1 kilogram and measuring 10 centimeters on each of its side, Celesta, which stands for CERN Latchup and Radmon Experiment Student Satellite, is a 1U CubeSat designed to study the effects of cosmic radiation on electronics. Interesting, huh? As if we've
Weird.
never had
It seems like we should already know that.
We should already know that since we went to the moon. Apparently.
We have so many electronics
we had a lot of
in space right now.
The problem, Basil, is we've destroyed all those electronics, so we can't test them anymore.
What about satellites?
It's like the secret.
What
it's
about
like the Secret
satellites?
Service.
Indeed,
it was just part of the routine. We're turning back in our satellites to the alien overlord lizard people, and it got destroyed in the process. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, the satellites carry a Space Radmon, a miniature version of the well-proven radiation monitoring device deployed by CERN's Large Hadron Collider. Celesta has been sent into Earth's orbit of about almost 6,000 kilometers, quote, right in the middle of the inner Van Allen belt. Celesta will survey an unusual orbit where radiation levels are at their highest, explains Marcus Brugger, head of the CERN Experimental Areas Group and initiator of both the CHARM, all caps, stands for something, I don't know, it doesn't say here, CHARM and Celesta projects in the context of the R2E, the Radiation to Electronics Initiative. So I find it interesting that this guy here, Marcus Brugger, who's oops, sorry for the live streamers, I hit the wrong button. Okay, what I was saying. Okay, yeah. So here's this CERN guy, Marcus Brugger, who's the head of the CERN Experimental Areas Group and initiator of both CHARM and Celestia. His whole thing of releasing allegedly these little satellites with the same tech that they have in the Large Hadron Colliders that make black holes, there's miniature black holes. Just put that on a little device and throw it into space, and no problem. But yeah, the whole thing is based on researching the damage of electronics due to radiation, which again is just peculiar. Because number one,
now they're sending in like these little brains. They're little brains that they use to detect things in CERN.
Right.
They're shooting those into space to see how radiation affects them because radiation has been affecting them.
That's the other thing. So it's like first off,
it again.
First off, to the point we already made, which is we should know already a lot about this if the stories we have been told are true about going to the moon and all that. But the second part of it is, what is CERN doing where they're like the only place we can figure out more, learn more about the radiation issue is to, launch this thing out into the Van Allen belt. Yeah.
It really doesn't make any sense, does it?
Very strange.
Is there no way to test? Is there no way to test radiation on stuff here on Earth?
I think there would be. I thought, I don't know. It wasn't CERN wasn't part of the thing. Like it creates space-like conditions or something.
They make their own radiation, but you could also, there's lab equipment that you can shoot radiation at stuff.
Sure.
Oh, I don't know, something like an X-ray maybe or an MRI machine.
No, those things don't exist. So according to the IEEE, which is the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, who I think in the very first episode of Canary Cry Radio back in 2012, we actually quoted an article from the IEEE. They've been very instrumental in, covering a lot of the topics that we've been covering in the context, a little different context, but they're a pretty big publication. And they have a bio here for Marcus Brugger. And in here, it talks about in 2010, he has been designated, or since 2010, he's been designated the project leader of the Radiation to Electronics Project for the CERN Acceleratory and Technology Sector, with work spanning from shielding and relocation measures, radiation monitoring, construction of new test facilities, and radiation tolerant developments of various critical LHC systems. He's worked with FLIPPY and all these other things. This is a man who came literally out of college, got his master's degree from the Technical University Graz, Austria in 1999, and just basically went straight into CERN. So he's like a lifelong CERN guy.
Which is interesting because we've read stories. It's been a few years since we have, but we've read stories about how hard it is.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to work at CERN. Like I don't even know the example I could give. It's the one, if you're into that stuff, if that's the career you're going into,
it's the pinnacle.
CERN is the place to go.
Yeah.
And he just went right in with a master's degree.
Yeah.
That's
finalizing his master's studies already at CERN.
Is he also an occult priest?
Oh, this is the part that was okay. Yeah. So let me finish the sentence because this is the part that triggered me. Ironically, Marcus Brugger received the master's degree from Technical University Graz, Australia, in 1999, finalizing his master's studies already at European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN, Geneva, Switzerland, with the level 1 trigger for the CMS experiment. So he had a level 1 trigger, which I don't really fully know what that means.
Yeah.
But it sounds important. For a guy.
That's exactly it. I have no idea what that means, but it sounds like a big deal.
I mean, if we're talking about nuclear weapons, right? The president having the nuclear codes, that's a really important thing. He's certain levels, right? What is the level? What's he called? Level orange or whatever. There's like different names and numbers and colors. But the fact that he's a level anything at CERN, coming out of a master's degree, and he was already working at CERN, something, I don't know. This guy's a lifer.
Okay.
So, just another, and I haven't really dug too much, but I don't think there's like photos of him or anything out there. So, I mean, maybe he does work. Maybe he's got lizard eyes and he doesn't want the world to see yet. But here's your brain of CERN and then, trying to figure out stuff. So there you go. That's, just some interesting things.
So they're definitely sending these satellites into space equipped with CERN electronics for like to take over the world, or Skynet, or quantum control of Chinese satellites or something.
Pretty much. Or they're, they found the universe clock, and they're just sending something out to connect the universe clock node to the, the Switzerland node, and so they can open the portals.
Sure. Makes sense. Makes as much sense as anything. Makes as much sense as the radiation testing.
Which brings us to the UFOs.
There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are.
Aliens. Yep. Aliens. Aliens.
You want to do this one real quick? Because I think this is...
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, we'll bring this through here.
Yeah, sure.
So this is from MSN.com, mirrored from an outlet called The Giant Freaking Robot, which is a pretty cool name for an outlet. And I'm going to save that and look into it again later. U.S. government approves new system for reporting UFOs. The world has changed. One of the most popular science fiction television shows ever, Fox's The X-Files, thrived on the premise of the U.S. government and other clandestine organizations intervening in any and all attempts to prove the existence of UFOs. The franchise was successful enough to enjoy 11 seasons of its TV series and 2 feature films. But in today's world, it would be a dud, with the U.S. government finally bringing transparency to the subject, and the existence of the UFOs becoming more of a fact and less of a question. In 2022, David Duchovny's signature character, FBI Special Agent Fox Mulder, would find himself preaching to the choir. Now the government has gone one step further by approving a new method for reporting UFOs. As reported by Comic Book, the House of Representatives recently approved a number of amendments to the National Defense Authorization Act. Oh, that's good. Yeah, let's just mix it in with NDAA.
Yeah. Aliens.
That's a nightmare.
Aliens, man. Aliens and national defense.
Yeah, this is also NDAA was also the renewing of that act under Obama is what gave us, the virtual digital panopticon and hive mind that we live in right now.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Amendments to the NDAA, including one that will make it easier for government officials reporting UFOs, or UAPs, as they're being called. The entire bill has not yet been passed by the House, though it is expected to sail through by next week. Then it will need to be approved by the Senate before it's officially official. As noted by NBC News, the bipartisan amendment for reporting UFOs was introduced by Representatives Mike Gallagher, a Republican from Wisconsin, and Ruben Gallego, a Democrat from Arizona. The
Aliens
goal of the
are
amendment,
bringing us together.
Yeah, the bipartisan alien bill. See, it's already happening. It's always been part of the narrative,
the solution,
or the deception that the aliens would create a peace on Earth, finally. The goal of the amendment is to open up, quote, immediate sharing between relevant parties, such as certain government personnel and scientists. There will, that's interesting, connecting the science with the government.
They need the priests to be
scientism.
They need the sort of information flow. The pipelines?
Well, you've got
the information
check.
pipelines.
You've got to check with you've got to integrate the priests of scientism with the government.
Right.
Because we wouldn't want any theocracy.
Right.
There will, however, be some exceptions. For example, if the, quote, the observed object and associated event and activities likely to relate to some kind of clandestine programs that have already been reported to the Congress's Defense and Intelligence Committees, then that immediate sharing will be curbed. So they're saying, we'll share UFOs, but if it's like the top secret black budget CIA,
sense.
It does make sense.
It does, but it doesn't.
So what they're saying here, and what's being revealed, is that they know
they have
their
these programs.
UFOs.
Yeah.
No. They know our UFOs versus the UFOs that aren't ours. They'll see it. They'll say, "Oh no, don't talk about that one. That's our CIA flying saucer," versus the the alternative.
Sure.
The amendments for reporting UFOs are a direct...
Before you move on, I feel like that right there, that I had it highlighted because it almost makes the whole thing pointless. If they're just going to be able to be like, oh, we already know about this, so let's not escalate it. What's the point of the immediate sharing and all this kind of stuff? The only reason would be to weed out those who don't comply. Continue.
No, what do you mean? What do you mean those who don't comply?
Because I
think it's relating to if there's a UFO that is seen, if they already know what it is, like if they're like, oh, this picture was taken over Roswell this day, and then they put it to the committee and they're like, oh, well, we know the CIA was flying one of their anti-gravity mobiles, so we don't need to share this one with scientists.
Right. No, I understand that. But in the context of the greater, hey, let's have transparency. I mean, I guess this is the transparent part, but they're saying by being that, there's levels of transparency. They're telling us that basically what you're saying. But at the same time, they're
transparency is not
the reality of the situation is, I guess, what I'm trying to say.
And this matches up with this whole theme of transparency that we've heard from the World Economic Forum, from our own government, from Silicon Valley, Facebook, like all these organizations that have been talking about, hey, the new world order will be transparent. That's how you can't have democracy without sunlight. We will be transparent with all the things. And what they're really saying is we will be transparent with all the things that we want to be transparent about, and then we'll keep everything else secret, which is exactly how everything's been going. But it's this rhetorical device to push for whatever they're pushing for. It's a lie, I guess. That's a fancy way of saying it's a lie.
Yeah.
The amendments for reporting UFOs are a direct response to a report released by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence from last June. Among other things, the report states that between 2004 and 2021, personnel in the military planes reported 144 different UAP or UFO sightings. It's an interesting number. Out of these 144 sightings, only one had been explained. For the rest of the 143, there wasn't enough data to make any kind of conclusive finding. Keep in mind, of course, that these 144 sightings are just those made by military personnel aboard military planes. They don't count for sightings reported by civilians. It seems, if nothing else, fitting that this news should drop just days after the public was floored by images of the universe from the James Webb Telescope. Wow.
We said it.
Well, yeah. Yep. Folks, if you're listening to this and you don't know why I just said it in sort of that drawn out, exciting sort of voice there, you need to listen to a previous episode where we discussed the James Webb Telescope revealing their new pictures. The fact that it was revealed by the president and AOC, well, I mean, it was officially revealed by the president, speaking to the far off places, the accomplishments of science having been a couple of things. Number one, a drastic sort of amplified version of look over there. Don't look at my son Hunter and his crack. Look over there. Look as far away as you possibly can from what's going on here on Earth.
There's a clock. I think there's a clock out there.
There's a heartbeat out there. Look, we took a picture of it.
Send a CERN up there.
Right. And, we've talked about for years the idea of scientism being the religion of science, not just science, because, of course, science is, you can doubt science. You can question science. You can prove science wrong. But scientism is what our current religion of our government is, of our authority figures, being you don't question science, you trust science, you have faith in science, and the priests of science are the scientists, and the prophets are the astronauts, and this has been a long developing conversation.
Science is truth.
The James Webb Telescope being sort of this new tool that we have to look deeper into space, and we can all unite over the fact that, oh yes, our president has a cough and is falling off of bikes, and we're fighting a proxy war in Ukraine that is unjustified, and
our
we're
world is
purposefully
crumbling.
demolishing the world economic system in order to have a phoenix rise from its ashes. But pay attention to these sparkly
look at
photos.
that deep dots out there.
Deep, blurry, bright dots.
Here,
The awe-inspiring
continue.
photos show whole galaxies spinning out in the void, and just maybe that photographic reminder of exactly what's possible to be waiting for us out there is part of what's lighting the proverbial fire under lawmakers' butts. You can see the first of the amazing images below, and they make the point for us, folks. This outlet is making the point that we have been making, which is the James Webb Telescope is just an example, the newest example of how abstract and faraway scientific discoveries are motivating our government. They are motivating our government in ways they've never been motivated before. And this shows the aspects of the belief system of scientism as an underlying motivational factor for our government. If you will, it's almost as if, the separation of church and state is being upheld simply by renaming the church, which is science or scientism, as it's more sort of academically known.
Well, I think many of us who've been looking at Bible prophecy the last decade, I know the many people that I've run into, and the reason why, I had my channel, Facelikethesun and everything else, was because a lot of biblical prophecy seemed to have this aspect of, advanced technology, of advanced science in a form of some kind of politicized way. And it just all seems to be built into in scientism, being more specific than just science, but scientism, like a literally a theology, a cosmology.
It tells you who's clean, who's dirty.
Who's dirty. The James Webb Telescope examples like this serve as sort of
they're icons.
I was going to say icons, in sort of that orthodox, the Christian orthodox way, but also in some ways you can say they're miracles.
I was going to say signs and wonders.
Signs and wonders,
Signs and wonders.
And we know about that. We know about the counterfeit signs and wonders that are planned.
Exactly. And this fits into a larger thing. Deconstruction we'll give in a second. Let me finish out this paragraph.
This next sentence I have highlighted in red because it is the most fantastic sentence of the article. Continue.
Hopefully, along with more legislative muscle behind the reporting of UFOs, we'll soon have better technology to record the things as well. Back in February came the word that Harvard's Avi Loeb, a theoretical physicist, is working on. Yeah, he keeps popping up, doesn't he? Is working on what he calls the Galileo Project. Loeb and his team hope to create a network of telescopes all over the globe with the goal of capturing high-resolution photos of actual UAP. And the CERN satellites seem to have, if you talk about the new fancy scientism toys we have floating around, you've got the James Webb Telescope. I think that these little CERN CubeSats, could be a network type thing. I would not be surprised if they came out and said, oh, we sent out these electronics to see how radiation got them, but we managed to find a striking discovery. And then it's, another one of these types of things. So this sort of accidentally, perfectly transitioned into the conversation we've been having recently on the show of theocracy, and how theocracy, a certain part of our political structure here in the U.S., which is mirrored around the world in different political systems, but the biggest sort of empty threat that we've been hearing is, democracy is at stake. Democracy is at stake. Democracy is gone. It's fascism. And people weren't really buying the fascism thing because it's ridiculous. The definitions don't match up. And fascism is not really, in its purest form, the biggest threat in America. But it became more apparent that theocracy was the biggest threat, or at least this is what they were able to craft the narrative around. Oh, democracy is at stake, and it's all about theocracy. The Roe v. Wade, the movement towards conservative values in our laws and legal precedents, things like this. So they're really afraid of theocracy. Now, I think the point has been well made so far that this scientism is already the theocracy that we live under. We live under a scientistic theocracy where, the president of the United States is presenting the miracles done by the scientistic, priests and prophets. And this is what we all need to focus on. Don't focus on the things of this earth. Focus on the things above, like these galaxies that the James Webb Telescope has found. And this, of course, even motivating lawmakers. What does it mean when a religion, scientism, motivates lawmakers? Well, that is a form of theocracy. So we already live in a theocracy. The government, the president says if you're unvaxxed, you're a dirty, unvaxxed animal and you shouldn't have any rights and things like this. We've lived through it. I don't need to repeat all of it for you, but the points are there. But they are making this case that a Christian theocracy is the biggest threat. And indeed, a Christian theocracy would be quite the threat to a scientistic theocracy. So we do not have a battle between democracy and theocracy. We have a battle between scientistic theocracy and Christian theocracy. At least that is sort of the narrative being set up here. And one clip has been making the rounds recently today. This is a clip from, I believe it was some sort of church service or conference type of event.
Flashpoint Live in Atlanta, Georgia, July 1st. Flashpoint Live, July 1st, 2022. In Atlanta,
so this
Georgia.
was a Christian event. Do you have info pulled up for it? Is there a website or anything?
No, I can probably find something if you want me to.
Okay, why don't you look for something there?
Okay.
But this has been making the rounds online and has been used as evidence for the real threat of Christian theocracy. And I think this is something that we all need to very seriously grapple with, because
pay attention to it, because this is the bait for people, a lot of our listening audience and people like us.
Exactly.
This is the bait.
And let me tell you, this is going to trigger a lot of people in a lot of different ways. Some people will be very excited. Some people will get fired up. Some people may even type amen into the chat. And I want you to know that is a natural response.
And it's actually okay that isolated statements in here, could make a whole lot of sense and are agreeable statements that are made in this thing, but
you're talking about the clip, right?
Clip, yeah.
So what? And I want to be clear. I grew up in a Christian tradition that things like this were incredibly common. It's not even that uncommon, and I don't think what we're about to watch is uncommon for many Christians in America. But there's a very serious conversation we need to have about it. Let's just go ahead and roll the clip. It's a 4-minute clip, and try to listen. And we can talk about it after.
Okay, it is. Yeah, you're right. It's 4 minutes, so let's get going here.
All right, go ahead. All right, Dutch, lead us. So we'll read it together, okay?
Turn it up just a little.
As a patriot of faith, I attest my allegiance first and foremost to the kingdom of God and the Great Commission. Secondly, I agree to be a watchman over our nation concerning its people and their rights for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Whereas we, the church, are God's governing body on the earth. Whereas we have been given legal power from heaven and now exercise our authority. Whereas we are God's ambassadors
pause it for 1 second?
Sure.
Because it mentions the wokeness right there. And
I think it was a weird word to use.
It is, yeah. So two words that start with W that I want to point out so far. Watchman. This is part of the Watchman thing here that they're talking about, which is
it's called the Watchman Decree.
Yeah.
This is what they're all chanting together. And it's probably about 10,000 people. And yeah, they're taking the word Watchman.
We've been talking about the Watchman. And there are.
I want to hold on.
Sure. Okay,
let's hold on just a bit, because I think there's a it all needs to be kind of done.
Flushed out. Okay. All right.
It needs to be all at once, because if we do it piece by piece, we're just going to get lost.
All right. I'm going to back it up just a little bit and then continue here.
Okay. And for those who are just listening, the video on this, I mean, they're in about a 10,000 person auditorium, might be a church or an arena of some kind. The full light show, red and blue lights shining everywhere, is a real production, a real production here. This is not nothing. And, okay, so a couple of things simply to point out first. I want to start by saying a lot of the things that you heard, and hopefully you were able to hear it all right. Remember, you can find all our sources in our show notes and in the emails that we send out for the newsletter. A lot of the language was really not that foreign to regular Christians across America. I mean, the language was sort of right down the middle, and not even necessarily. I just want to just recognize
caveat
that very few could not even pick out one thing that was actually said in the words that, anybody really would disagree with, at least like a Christian would disagree with. It's, we do want, we definitely would prefer a president who honors God and defends the Constitution. We would prefer that our laws, are constitutional and righteous. There's nothing wrong with wanting judicial systems, rulings that are constitutional and biblical. Of course, that's a little bit more of a complicated one. Things like this, just like generally wanting the country to
reflect the Christian values that they have been told
our values,
right? Yeah,
and it's normal for anyone. I say that at the very least, sort of as an axiom, a statement that proves its own self and doesn't need any more explanation, that any person living in America wants the government to reflect their values, their own values. That is just sort of axiomatically true, and therefore not necessarily a bad thing for those who are Christian want these things. However, some things to point out. We've talked with, and even read statements from Dr. Future, who is sort of a grandfather or father of perhaps even a mentor to us when we are starting doing our thing. And he's very much right now have a lot of strong feelings about the merging of Christianity with this type of hyper nationalism, as if the same old trick they used during World War II.
Well,
you're right, and he breaks it down historically in the 50s, where a lot of the ideas that America is a Christian nation and should be a Christian nation and has always been a Christian nation and things like this was actually crafted in the mid 20th century and sort of retroactively applied to our history. And that's a hard thing for people to grasp onto, and that is just how propaganda works. And you're not going to, if you're not already aware of this, you're not going to fully accept that now here, but there's plenty of resources that you can go and check that out, which we'd be happy to help you out with. Send us an email. Now, a couple of strange things. You're right. This is a decree. This is a declaration and a decree, which in my vein of Christianity was not very uncommon.
This was actually written by the name you mentioned prior. I don't think it was a name.
Dutch Sheets.
Dutch Sheets. Yeah.
Is that the name I mentioned?
It is the name you mentioned. It's actually, I believe, written by him.
Yeah. Oh, no. This is, I think I may have met Dutch Sheets, actually.
You can tell us about your long, deep conversation with Dutch
Let me tell you about a conversation I had with Dutch Sheets. I mean, he's a very well-known guy and sort of like the charismatic.
Yes, and he's part of the, and it looks like it's listed here, 7 Mountains of Influence.
He's a very 7 mountain-y guy, which has its own issues. For me personally, I look at the 7 mountains, where the Mystery Babylon sits on and, does her thing. It's a whole thing.
I don't know why you would want to take that as your sort of launching pad for your ministry.
Well, I don't want to get into it because I can trust me. I grew up in it. I could defend it here and I could explain it to you in a way that would make sense to you, but that's not the point of this.
Sure.
We're not here to dig into Dutch Sheets.
Okay.
The point is the past, 80 to 100 years of American culture crafting, the marriage between sort of religious elite and political elite has been powerful, and it's been consistent, and it's been very effective in a lot of different things. And this is what we're seeing here. We're seeing a religious elite, again, obviously getting mixed up with a political elite for lots of reasons. And I'm not going to say that the religious elite here don't believe that America should be a more Christian nation. I believe that they do. I believe that they're authentic in that. But getting wrapped up in the politics of it all is a dangerous thing. And I would say not even the most dangerous thing. What we have here, when we hear, and this comes from a tweet from Nick Knudsen. I'm not exactly sure who this person is. I probably should. Let's see. Executive Director of Demcast USA, writing for HuffPost.
Sure.
Democracy is neat. We have, he's a Democrat operative.
One of the things that you were going to point out was that the list here, the decree, had
I'm almost there.
Okay,
I'm almost there.
I thought you were going to.
Hold on. No, I'm just mentioning that. Remember, this is being passed around as evidence that theocracy is the biggest threat. And the tweet that came along with it says, if this doesn't scare you, I don't know what will. Christo-fascist indoctrination ceremony, which is a nice little sort of conspiracy theorist theorizing of his own. And it's called the Watchman Decree. Now, just to be clear, what you were kind of getting at earlier is, we didn't invent the term Watchman, and we didn't, whatever. We're just saying in our sort of genre, Watchman has been a constant identifier.
Yeah. It's because you look at what the Watchmen were doing in the Old Testament, and you sort of compare it to what we're doing here, and obviously it's not exactly the same physically, but in terms of
and that's
what we're doing, it's kind of what we're doing. We're kind of looking ahead, saying like, "Hey, here's what's coming." So
the feeling that Gonz is trying to communicate is that we got Adam Carolla by Dutch Sheets.
Dutch Sheets taking over.
Got Adam Carolla by Dutch Sheets. Okay.
Oh man.
Now, within this repeat after me speech thingy, the declaration, they actually have decrees. They say we make our declarations, and they all repeat these decrees.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about the scientism, and CERN launching their occult bots, satellites into the air on 13/13/13, or at 13/13 on 13. Well, these decrees, there's 13 of them, which is an interesting thing, especially when you consider that had to be a very specific number.
Yeah.
Because they include things like, we decree, we take back and permanently control positions of influence and leadership in each of the 7 mountains, highly theological things.
Yeah.
Like, our God-given freedoms, according to our Constitution. The president will honor God. Congress will, be righteous. Very theological. Hold on, let me get there.
Sure.
And then it goes into like number 9. We declare that our nation is energy dependent, and it's kind of like they added a few things in there to make it 213.
Now, why would they want to do 13 here?
Well, 13 is a very powerful occult number, as is evident by CERN. Now, of course, we have the 13 colonies, the original 13 states.
I think that's what they're going for.
Knowing the occult proclivities of our founding fathers, of course, was also meant to be a very powerful numerology. So, even in these decrees of the, the sort of 7 mountains thing here, they're using the numerology that made America powerful in the first place, or at least gave a little boost there at the beginning. A couple things in there was, we know this country was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. So conveniently vague. Judeo-Christian principles. Because I think they know that if they said the country was founded on Christian values, or to be a Christian nation or something, that would be the normal talking point. But because something very intentional and specific is being done with this decree stuff, I think they knew that they couldn't say that. They couldn't say that line. But you can say it was founded on Judeo-Christian principles.
Yeah.
Because those were just those were just the principles of the founding fathers, even though they were not Christian in the way we think about it.
Sure.
Long story.
Go ahead. You're gonna wrap it up.
I was going to wrap it if you're ready to wrap.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more for me to say, but we've been kind of going long.
Yeah, I think it's important, though.
It is important. The idea of a Judeo-Christian nation is something that the likes of Ben Shapiro pushes quite a bit.
Everybody loves waffles.
Sure.
So, I haven't listened to him in a while, but he was really pushing that whole concept. But yeah, this whole thing... it's you were talking about the hijacking, but more so it's I think the importance of it here is the dangers of being wrapped up into this, because it is, I don't know how to say this without, like, it's kind of our people, like our crowd, our friends, family that are sort of thinking the same way we are, which I know there's not a lot out there, but it is perfect bait for those of us out there that
that's what it is.
Because if you look at, if I was just walking around, I saw like, oh, Watchman's Decree, I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. And based on the issues of, you know, what was happening in this country with the last 20 years basically being a very progressive liberal thing culturally and legislatively, you knew that there was going to be a cultural whipsaw, you know, snap back, and that's what Trump was. But the danger always from the beginning was, hey, this is really setting up for more, you know, basically like a militant church, and that's exactly what we're seeing develop here.
Yeah, you know, and I got to be completely honest. I know people personally who would watch this and get really, really stoked and get really, really fired up and, you know, join the movement and do the thing. And again, I'm not even saying they're bad people or whatever, but you really got to be careful who you are letting pull your strings. I say it all the time. You can agree with someone, but if they are telling you exactly what you like to hear, in order to get you to act a certain way or to join some sort of group or to do whatever, you really got to be careful because of a couple of things. Like I said, this video is going around and I think is sealing the deal on the whole Christo-fascist theocracy thing. This is sealing the deal. For someone, and I'm talking and I think everybody here has some contact with what they're doing in this service, you know, just kind of a decree, a corporate agreement,
it's long though, man. That's, you know, the one thing that
it's very long. Right.
But being in certain churches and like when I just talking as a non-believer, stepping into the world of churches and everything, not growing up in a church, the thing that stood out to me was like, oh, you repeat stuff. That's kind of, it's got a weird vibe to it, you know,
it's this corporate sort of thing. And even in the chat filled with people who, you know, potentially would agree with everything in here. It's the chanting, it's the group think, it's kind of
the hive mind.
When you're in it, you don't really see it. I mean, I grew up, we did a lot of this stuff, and I'm not even necessarily saying it's bad. I mean, when you're talking about taking over a country, that sort of, you need to take a second to think about that.
Well, it makes perfect sense.
For people who don't have any, let me continue. For people who don't have any context for what this is, never stepped into a church, never done a decree, probably never done any sort of big group thing besides going to a concert or something.
Right, those secular versions of all that, but
yes. This looks absolutely ludicrous.
It looks terrifying. Yeah.
You got to remember, if you're a secular person, you know, just say you're a regular Democrat, not even like a wild lefty or something, just a regular Democrat, never really been to church, maybe once on Christmas or something, you know, the really seeker-friendly services. And suddenly you see this would be terrifying. And you would immediately be like, oh my gosh, they are like going to war. They are, you know, we don't agree politically, but this is scaring me.
Yeah.
You have to believe that these. I mean, you can't even be mad at them for thinking this way.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of, in the context of the right-left paradigm, what would be an equivalent from the left side. And, you know, I couldn't think of much. I mean, I was thinking, you know, Obama did some stuff with race, and that really galvanized people early on with the whole, you know, real progressive, as we moved into a very progressive time in the country. Other than that, like, I can't think, it would be kind of like somebody up there doing some I don't know. I'm trying to think, like maybe a pro-abortion thing and having a big old decree about killing babies, like triggering conservatives, right? Like that's the level
the
here.
The same way. Yeah. Well, you just talk about the Satanic Temple. You know, they do a lot of artsy fartsy, you know, First Amendment stuff. So if you saw a group of 10,000 people in a humongous auditorium, all going through, let's just call it some sort of satanic decree.
Sure, yeah.
And they're going
Chanting
piece by
something.
piece.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the Satanic Temple would say, even they would say, like, we're doing this as to fight against the First Amendment.
Yeah, sure.
Stuff, mocking it, whatever. So it doesn't matter. But even if they were true and we just didn't, whatever, But you see 10,000 people making decrees as we will take over the government. Yeah. The government will serve Satan.
God gave us power. Satan gave us power.
Abortions will, like that would be absolutely terrifying. But for the people in there, they're like, yeah, we do this every week.
We decree that our judicial system will issue rulings that are satanic and constitutional.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they will hold to the principles of the Necronomicon and the Constitution of the United States. So you got to put yourself in their shoes. I probably in a different world, I could have actually been at this place.
Sure,
I may have been there. I may have been, running the light board or something. Yeah, the soundboard at this event.
Like, it doesn't sound so bad.
In a different world, we both of us, Gonz, could have been in this room.
Well, and I've had a lot of moments being in rooms like this where I'm ready to shut the whole thing down. I have the power to shut this thing down.
Sure. And so the point is, it doesn't matter what you agree or disagree in that stuff. The point is, this is what's being used as bait. And whoever jumps on board with this, you are not just partnering with whatever fellow Christians and hoping that our government holds up Christian and constitutional values. That's what they want you to think, is that it's just that. But what you are interacting with is honestly a perverse contract between these religious elites and the political elites that we have not seen since, the 1950s, when they got together in boardrooms, inventing the stories of our Christian forefathers, inventing the stories that this is a Christian nation as an absolute control mechanism. Yeah. You are watching the control mechanism propaganda at work here. And to get caught up in it, I'm telling you, your home is not here, folks. Your home is not America. You are not citizens of America. Of course, I love my country, and you do too, and we want what's best for this country. But just remember, don't let these people trick you into thinking that you are at some that this is the final aspect, the final expression of your true Christianity is to jump into this sort of mind thing. Yeah. And again, you can agree with everything. They have agreeable points in a lot of cases, but it is it is not for your benefit that this is happening. And so this is happening not just at this event. It's happening all over the internet. Yeah. It's happening all over the place, and it takes different forms. Yeah. So if anything, we just need to get good at spotting it.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say that, I have friends and stuff that send me text messages with either video or, a blog post or something that's a little more on the fringy side of the conservative conversation, the Republican side usually. And, some of the people who send that, they're doing it to share. Uh-oh, I just lost Basil. Hold on one sec. He just decided to leave. All right. That's how you're going to do it, huh, buddy? Okay, there he is. Hold on. Hey, they knocked you out, huh?
Yeah, that was just a straight hang up. That was weird.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for hanging up on me. I appreciate it.
They don't like it. Dutch Sheets is like, cut them off.
What was I saying? I was trying to make a point about something.
You said you had friends who were in the the zone.
No, well, yeah, they send stuff, and are you going to give me video of other than...
Oh, yeah, but just keep talking. I'll give you the video.
Yeah, no, my point was always that this is not good, that this is, weaponized stuff. Yeah. And I think the Trump era created a big reason for, because Trump himself couldn't maintain the level of rabbit hole that he created with his running and getting elected and all that stuff, 2016, 2015, 2016, 2017. I think a lot of people were waking up. There was the red wave and all this stuff, and we're finally talking about all these issues that we have been talking about for decades. The Epstein thing is a conversation, and everything. It all kind of explodes, right? But he himself can really maintain it. QAnon comes in, really takes the mantle in terms of those fringy conversations.
Really good comparison.
Yeah. And then we just continue to see sort of the militarization and really at the beginning it was more like false, like framing people almost, like making them look like they're doing something worse. But as time has gone on, it just seems like, okay, well, they're an identified group. Everybody knows who they are, either if it's the Oath Keepers or the whatever, the Proud Boys or whatever it may be. And now we're seeing, I think, just even more, like this video is like a culmination point of all that.
Institutionalized.
Right. And the number 9 does make me laugh. We declare that our nation is energy independent.
I mean, you got to agree with that one.
I mean,
but it's funny. We declare that it is energy independent. It is not currently energy independent. It is.
It depends on how you measure,
move.
I guess.
Yeah,
how you measure energy and independence. But yeah, no, it's just one of those things. That's like, wow, there's a lot of baggage with this one. This one's.
Well,
this one's
there's a very specific flavor too, which again used to be so fringy. I'm telling you, folks, I grew up in a pretty, not even just Pentecostal and charismatic, but as fringy as it could get. And I love it, by the way. I am not. I do not mean to speak ill of my upbringing in these traditions, and it is a wonderful way to learn a lot of things. But this language, as we're God's governing body on earth, the legal power. We've been given the legal power from heaven, and now exercise our authority. We're God's ambassadors and spokespeople. That one's a little lighter.
Charismatic empowerment stuff. Yeah,
the sort of claiming of ultimate authority over the earth, like because of our Christianity.
Right.
There's theological conversations to have there, and that's totally cool. But those are not theological conversations that somebody on the outside is going to like very much less understand. To somebody else, I mean, this just looks straight up crusades.
Yeah, no, when you politicize it like this, absolutely, it's not going to make sense.
Does not belong in politics, this kind of language.
Right, yeah. So this right here, because of our covenant with God, we are equipped and delegated equipped and delegated by him to destroy every attempted advance of the enemy, right?
Now, we know who the enemy is.
Right.
Okay, we know the adversary.
Do not wrestle with flesh and blood. Read the other parts of the Bible.
The spiritual thing, yeah, exactly. The enemy is, but in this context, in a political thing, and especially if you're a secular person looking at this, the enemy is kind of a theologically correct but vague explanation of talking about, the devil or something. But to somebody who doesn't know that, they think you're talking about Democrats. Somebody reads this from the outside. Because of our covenant with God, we are equipped and delegated by him to destroy every attempted advance of the liberal mob, of Hillary Clinton. That's what they hear. They don't know that you're talking about the adversary in this case. They think you're talking about them. This is very threatening to anybody on the outside who's reading this thing. And of course, I believe that when they wrote this declaration, they didn't mean for it to go national.
Maybe they did. Maybe
that is part of the psyop.
If anybody is well funded, well connected with the intelligence agencies, it's this side or this whole operation here, the Watchman decree and all that stuff. I mean, I understand you had your experiences with that and stuff, but I mean, just for me not growing up in it at all and then approaching things with the view I do, My whole thing is like, man, what is going on? Like, what money? Where's the money coming from for all these big churches? Like, where can we have a little transparency there just to find out like who and what, if at all, any intelligence operatives or ties?
Oh, and they absolutely do. I mean, it's historically confirmed that, the biggest churches, the biggest preachers, they were always involved in politics. They were always giving the messages that way they were, if not straight up given money to say, they were invited into the room. They had a seat at the table. They were given a chance, to have input. And when they were included, they were in the smoky rooms. And I believe that it was authentic that they thought, God put me in this room.
It's presented as like, we want you to help us save the country.
Right.
Thing,
God let me in this room so I can help lead the country towards God. Yeah. When unfortunately, and that is very possible, but it is also very possible that intelligence agencies and very crafty lizard people in the political elite knew that would be how it was perceived.
Oh, it's like shooting fish in a barrel to these folks when it comes to this.
It really is.
It really is. It's really just across the country. They finally did it. They have aroused the sleeping conservative majority of the country. Yeah. Now let's weaponize.
Here's the punchline.
Yeah.
Here's the punchline to the whole thing, and we can move on. The whole punchline, this whole thing, all the language, all the decrees, all the big church, the 10,000 Christians, the talking about the one true God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. America will be saved. We're here to take our country for God. And so we're going to vote for Trump. We're going to vote for Donald J. Trump.
We will launch a new age.
This might be
the punchline.
This could be the downfall. I mean, if you think about what currently there is no unified Trump support on the Republican side of the aisle, right? It's very divided. Is it not?
I think he just announced.
Did he really?
I think he just announced he's running like this morning.
Oh my gosh.
Hold on. Let's do, because I forgot to bring that to the show.
This podcast is becoming something very different from what we.
I read it today during my very special morning time. After my 3 cups of coffee.
Yeah, your surveillance. Sewage surveillance deposit.
Yeah. So while you look that up, so I mean, and that's the whole point. That's and mixed with all the insanity that a person on the outside who would read that, listen to that, get terrified, and then realize that all this God talk, all this authority from heaven talk means that these people are going to vote for Trump. Would be even that much more terrifying. And honestly, I'm not going to lie, Gonz, even I was a bit terrified watching this. And like I said, I could have been in that room. I could have been in that room, and I'm not saying that I shouldn't have been in that room. I could figure out a way to get in that room today if I really wanted to, but I honestly did have a little bit of a sinking feeling. I did not like it.
Yeah, well,
any word on Trump's
this is it's interesting though, because I think
he informally announced is what it is.
Yeah, the Hill here has Trump says he's made up his mind about 2024. Big decision is timing of announcement. So yeah,
right. Yeah.
He's made the announcement of the announcement basically. So yeah, he's going to run. We know this. That we'll just have to see what happens with the DeSantis and some of these bigger names out there. Which actually, I don't know who else is out there other than DeSantis that might.
It's DeSantis and a couple of other weirdos, but it's probably not going to happen.
Let's go.
That would be hilarious.
Space lasers.
What a slap in the face of Hillary if Marjorie Taylor Greene is the first.
And what if she did
female president?
What if she did it with the Jewish laser beams behind her? Just anybody that tries to question
it's in her
gets zapped.
Campaign logo,
calling fire down from heaven. It's all coming true. All right, where are we? What are we doing? I feel like we're
going in a break. We've completely lost this whole show, so we're going in a break.
Okay, here we go. Let's break.
It's break time. Come on, take a break.
And I know we're going to lose some listeners from that, and that's not great. But
Well, I was going to say that when we first started doing like shows and stuff, and I remember bringing up some of these topics, not this exact thing, but like just where this road started in my mind anyway, like this whole conversation about kind of a weaponized Christianity and especially like in charismatic circles. Yeah. And I remember you pushed back a lot because you kind of came from that background, which is fine. I actually like the fact that you had more personal experience with it and you had more personal connection with some of the individuals and stuff. But it's interesting to see you sort of not come around might be the wrong term, but just in terms of seeing this here now.
Definitely the world is different.
Right.
The world is different.
The context of it all is different. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's been a long journey, and it's probably tough. And you out of anybody out there would probably understand even more growing up in that environment and then seeing sort of what's happened to it and having that political, and it's kind of the same way with what I felt with the sort of an independent content creating crew of people that are Christian out there, and then all of a sudden Trump and Q and Vlad. I mean, it's just like, what happened? I guess different. We're just not important at all, or what?
Back when conspiracy theories were not like a national security concern, there's just the world is totally different. I'll just say it just because you brought it up. Theologically, I think a big part of what what you were referring to in our olden days, like theologically, I'm happy to have discussions. We'll probably find myself on the side of, defending a lot of the weirder stuff that people don't like about, charismatic and Pentecostal stuff, that sort of crowd. Mm-hmm. But when I see it being so obviously co-opted for the use for political purposes, for sort of a perverse brotherhood of that theology and politics, I'm happy to draw a line there.
Sure.
And I know people personally who would totally disagree with me, and that's okay. And I'm, again, absolutely 100% sure there's at least a handful of people who will never listen to this show again because of that segment.
Well, and somebody pointed out, and this is a good point too, and this is the kind of stuff that might be hard to refute. If I'm not mistaken, and I saw somebody in the chat mention it, that they didn't mention the name Jesus once in that whole thing. Did they?
That is not Christ. There was no Christ.
I think there was no.
You think so? Let's find out. Because I think it was all God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and everything.
Christian, right? I know
Judeo-Christian
was very.
But there was no Jesus.
I don't think Jesus was mentioned.
No mention of the gospel.
Right.
It was the church and God.
Constitution.
God. And how is that? I mean, if that is not. Oh my gosh! This segment is still going, and that's fine.
I'm sorry, but it's an important conversation.
So Clippies will need to remember that because this needs to be in the clip. There's no Jesus, there's no Christ, there's no gospel, there's no salvation. None of that mentioned in this decree, which to me screams this was written with the help or entirely by the government, by CIA,
because they'll mention God,
by somebody who wasn't there.
Yeah.
Because this is not Jesus focused at all. It's not salvation focused. None of it is focused on the spirit or eternity. Yeah. It is all focused. It uses God, big G God. By the way, it says God. It never says Yahweh, it does say God of Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob, but
that's
as we know,
more broad. It's
deist.
It's a deist.
This is a deist writing.
Yeah.
Much like our founding fathers. And I think that's why they're not having a problem with it, is because this is how a deist would write to Christians. And this is the core of the deception that has been delivered upon American Christians for a long, long, long time. Because there is no Christian theology in here. There is deist theology. And I think that was a really, really good observation, Gonz.
Thanks. And just one more thing. I'm looking at just this here and we'll move on. Well, just for time's sake. But it says here, as a patriot of faith, I attest my allegiance first and foremost to the kingdom of God and the Great Commission, something? Okay, fine, sure.
Okay, the commission.
Secondly,
the Great Commission was, okay.
Yeah. Second, I agree to be a watchman over our nation concerning its people and their rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So it's not a watchman to the church, it's watchman to the nation. Right. So there's that slight thing there to co-op the whole concept of a watchman in the church and not be about the church. I mean, they're kind of trying to make it quasi about the church, but it's more so about the nation. So, and the pursuit of life, liberty, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which is that giant American psyop. So,
Yep. It takes a lot to break that apart. You know, I'm glad we did it because, on first go through, I mean, I started the segment with saying, look, there's a lot of agreeable stuff in there, but the more you read it, the more you break it down, the more it is obvious that it is not something that we any of us should be messing with. Yeah. You are handing over your puppet strings to something you do not want to have control, and it's going to work. That's the problem. It's going to work for a lot of different reasons. It's going to work for goals and aims that we don't even know about. Yeah. And with that, we're going to take a break and thank some producers.
So happy today. We're just a couple of happy campers. It's so late today, too. Dude, oh, my gosh. What is going on?
I know. We might need to call some sort of crazy audible today because we started at almost 4. It's already almost
6.
What?
My
6?
time. Yeah.
We got a couple more hours until Gonz gets the angry phone call, but we'll see what we can do. All right, we're on the value for value model, which means we get no CIA money, no political partnerships, no tax breaks,
nothing. We get nothing from nobody that's in the government, and
no perverse partnerships with intelligence agencies or governments or politicians or anything. Not even advertisement money or corporate money or affiliate codes or scraps. Partnerships. Nothing. That is what truly independent means, folks. Dutch Sheets is getting all the government money. Ben Shapiro getting all the advertising money.
Is that like his birth name? That cannot be his birth. That sounds like a CIA handle all the way.
It sounds like a gamer tag. Yeah, I don't know. I could not tell you. So we're truly independent media. We are value for value, which means nobody gives us money except for people who get value out of the show. It's called putting value back into the system. If you get value out of this show whatsoever, perhaps you don't, but hopefully you do if you keep coming back. Did you get value out of the UFO segment? Did you get value out of the CERN update? Did you get value out of the Ivana Trump conspiracy theory? Did you get value out of the ramblings of a scared man who saw a kind of a terrifying perversion of the belief in Jesus Christ into some sort of nationalist warmongering? Whatever the value you get, the show only continues when producers put value back in. And who are the producers? They're you. They're the listeners. You can become a producer because it's the real world. And if you pay to have a piece of media produced, you're a producer. And you can also produce with your time or your talent. But we're going to thank some producers who came in with their treasure. If you want to do that, you can head on over to CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
You know what? I think it's time that we ask Sam to make us a new jingle for CanaryCry.support, which is another shorter link that you can use, folks. CanaryCry.support. Okay, let's start out by thanking some of our executive producers.
Executive producers.
That's right. Executive producers come in. They come in big. They're generous. They recognize that their value that they have to give is the only way that the show continues. And so we give them special thanks. We're starting out with executive producer Anonymous.
Thank you, Anonymous.
And it's very simple. There was a note, but it said private note, private donation, all private. Thank you, Anonymous.
Thank you.
Yep. Came in nice round number. For anybody thinking about producing the show, if you come in with a nice round number, we will not disclose the amount. That is just a way for you to signal that you would like to keep that private. If you don't want it to be private, if you don't mind us reading the number, make it something funky. Put a funny number in there. Put 33 cents is a funny way. It's very common. You could do whatever. Just make it funny or just weird. So thank you very much, Executive Producer Anonymous.
Where'd you
we also had.
Sorry, Anonymous stepping on you.
No, you're right. That's my bad. Next up, we have Executive Producer Amy V.
Amy V, thank you, Amy V.
Yeah, thank you very much, Amy V. And Amy V, no nothing. Nice round number. Just producing to keep the show going. Thank you very much, Executive Producer Amy V.
Where'd you find this?
Women rule.
I'm going to skip supply drop and just go right into it, baby. All right. We are thanking producer Morv. Morv is in with 114 episode streak.
Yeah.
Quicker.
Oh yeah. Man, thank you so much.
11.
By the way,
yeah,
thank you, Morv. By the way, God bless our executive producers because short list today.
Yeah.
It's like the Holy Spirit knew that we were going to be rambling for a long time, so they're like, we'll keep we just won't inspire too much support today. Next up, we have
keep the count low for the ramblings of the hosts.
Producer Sir JC, Night of the Techno Squatch, is on a 126 episode streak.
Quicker.
Oh yeah. Man, thank you so much.
1001. Amen.
Comes in with the 1001 and a note. Hey guys, happy Friday as always.
Friday.
There you go. We can keep playing with the Friday thing. Basil, how long did it take to get used to off the grid living? What's the biggest challenge?
I know what the biggest challenge is.
Okay, yeah, right. What is it?
Being on time for podcasting.
Starting a podcast on time. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Being on time.
Yes. Recently, one of the biggest challenges has been when you're not surrounded by buildings and trees and like the infrastructure of a city. Yeah. The wind is very windy. Oh. I'm constantly texting Gonz about the wind storms. There's been some heavy summer wind storms.
I'd be like, "Hey man, where you at?" And he'd be like, "The wind, man, the wind."
I'm chasing a pop-up tent.
It's the wind. It's
miles.
Not me. It's the weather.
Yes, you do. The weather means a lot more when you're off the grid. I don't think I am used to it yet. I don't think I am. I'm only a little, I'm less than a year in, much less than a year in. And I don't know. I'm not used to it. I'm still figuring it out. Biggest challenge. Well, the more animals you add, the more work there is every single day. It did inspire me. I went ahead and got crafty and built some automatic feeders, automatic waterers. I'm getting my automation down without getting any robots out here yet. The more animals is the more work. Now, there's a lot of joy that comes from these animals and a lot of good, food options. But that is kind of the biggest thing. The other one is power, electricity moderation, I guess. Definitely run out of electricity often. But luckily during the day, everything's fine. When the sun is shining, everything's fine. I don't know. It's not like there's one big thing to get used to. It's just a ton of little things you took for granted.
1,000 cuts.
1,000 things that you took for granted being on the grid that you just have to get used to little thing and little thing and little thing and little thing and little thing. That's the main thing. So Thank you for the question though, JC.
Good
I know
question.
I've threatened to talk more about the off-grid thing and helping people understand it and understand that it's way easier than we're led to believe. When I first announced, everybody was like, wow, you must be a millionaire. I'm never producing this show again. I spent less than anything that was available in a city. So it's possible. I also don't have children. I have, have a lot less responsibilities than a normal person who's in a city. But it is very doable, and I'm very passionate actually about letting everybody know it's super doable. And the way that the world is going, it's almost going to be required for anybody who wants.
That's kind of my. If I had a long-term goal in the next decade of my life, is to figure out a location that it's like an off-grid location that I can build, that I can go to. I don't know if I can live there full time.
Honestly, that was the hardest thing. The hardest thing was finding the right location. Yeah. So there you go. I would actually, JC, if you would like to partner with me in that, because I have so many things that I talk about on the show that are, I got the robots, I got the new robo girlfriend, I've got all sorts of things. So if you keep asking questions about the off grid, I'd be happy to keep talking about it.
Cool. Thanks,
all
JC.
Right. Thanks, JC. Next up, we have this is producer Sean S.
Thank you, Sean S.
Sean S comes in with $8.88. Triple eights. And Sean sent us a note. Sean is the one putting on the Reno, Nevada meetup.
Ah, yes. There was a location, so I have some
details.
Time, and
yeah. So for anybody around Reno, Nevada, or passing through or whatever, July 30th, end of this month, at of course 3:30 in the afternoon at Rancho San Rafael Park. And then there's an address here. We'll put it on the website. Sean S. Wow. Brazenly giving out his phone number, and why to grow a pair, he says. So there you go. Thank you, Sean. Thank you for the info. We'll put this on the website, and thanks for producing the show.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we have Malik W.
Malik, good to see you, Malik.
Yeah, thanks, Malik. Malik came in during the show here. Nice round number. Good to see you.
Thanks, Malik.
Next, we have producer bot LX Protocol V2 on a 54 episode streak.
54. I'm losing my numbers. 54. I think it's just a streak. Yes? No?
What'd you say?
I just played the streak jingle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay.
I think you cut out for a second and you didn't hear me.
I think it did.
Yeah.
Thank you, producer bot. LX Protocol V2 came in with 777.
Thank you.
And just in the nick of time here, coming in, sliding across the finish line, we have producer Chantel G.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice round number. Thank you very much, Chantel G. That concludes our list of producers who came in with 777 or more. Small handful, but also some real ride or dies, and of course the execs. We got a few more to thank who came in underneath the 777 cutoff, which entitles you to have a note read on the show. We got a few more to thank here. We have producer Falcor's mom came in on the Patreon.
Thank you very much. Falcor's mom.
We got producer Megan T.
Thank you, Megan T.
And some people came in, the replica. Megan T. Yeah, thank you. The replica Pro is $4.17 a month, and $4.17 has become pretty common.
A lot of people coming in with that, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Interesting.
We might need to give them like a special shout out or a special name or something, or a jingle. Thank you, Megan T. Next up, we got Runk Smash on a 6 episode streak, which means Runk Smash is on fire.
Thank you, Runk Smash.
We got producer Darren S. 19 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Darren S.
Sir Casey the Shield Knight, 180 episodes in a row.
Yeah!
Oh, no. No. Oh, you know what? That's the one I was looking for that was confusing me. Here we go.
Oh, yeah. Streakalicious. Thank you, Sir Casey. Next up, we got Sir Scott Knight of Truth, 169 eps in a row.
Thank you very much, Sir
Then
Scott.
we got the Streak Sisters. You got to be quicker on that thank, man. You got to be quicker. Next up, we got producer Gail M, 145 episodes in a row.
Yeah.
Women rule.
Thank you, Gail M.
Now, Veronica D, 145.
Women rule.
Thank you, Veronica D.
There you go. That concludes, I believe, our list of financial producers. Thank you guys so much. It means a whole ton. We cannot do the show without you. The continued support of people who realize value can only keep coming if the big wheel of value keeps it turning. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shut up and take my money. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your patronage.
Please leave a message after the tone.
At the tone, please record your message.
Leave a message. Beep.
Message. If you go to CanaryCry.Newstalk.com, you'll see a green tab on the side of the bottom. You can leave us a message there. It's awesome. You're giving us permission to play the message, but it is not guaranteed.
We got a message here from Rochelle.
Time for some praise and worship to our Creator. This is inspired by Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that He is God. He will comfort you with His staff and rod. He creates the land. He controls the sea. He will mold the man. He will consecrate me. Be sure and know that He is true. His sword and shield will protect you. He barras the beauty and the beast. He wants your spirit and soul at the feast. Come climb His ladder. Take a step up to the sky. Leave conspiracy of matter. Solid, liquid, gas, it's all a lie. Be safe and sound in His prophecy. Messiah says the Spirit speaks of He. He confounds the dark to increase the light. The entities will mark those chose to fight. I'm out of time. Stay strong for Jesus. Thank you.
Thank you, Rochelle.
That's our time. Thank you very much, Rochelle.
Appreciate it. And
I took away my video because I'm having to replace my ice packs.
Okay.
Hold on.
Hey, you didn't want to trigger me? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I didn't want you to yell about how your eye gates have been invaded.
Yeah. But what people don't know is when we first hop online, when we're starting a call or something, a lot of times Basil's camera's pointed down, so it's just I get to see just his chops,
my toes, my weird off-grid toes.
Which, by the way, how's your foot doing there? By the way, your toes or nail?
Great. The sepsis never set in. The tetanus there, it's all good. My feet are getting rough and tumble, man. I can step on nails so often out here. But it's all good.
Yeah. Thank you, Rochelle. And keep them coming. I know there was a separate message. I forgot to play that for you, Basil, off air. I'll play it for you later. But
okay.
Yeah, Rochelle, thank you so much for all the stuff that you've been doing, and we hope you continue.
Everything.
So, all right. Did you want to do reviews real quick, or what are we doing? Because we got a lot of reviews.
I'm going to do a couple. Yeah, because I realized we have not read reviews since the 1st of this month. But the good news is we did make it to 5 this week. It's the first time in like a month we've actually gotten the 5 reviews. So this is awesome. Thank you very much. I am going ooh-woo. Yeah, thank you guys. When we get 5 or more reviews a week, it shows. And Gonz, we were running out of time, so we didn't do our normal thing this morning.
Yeah.
But like you can see when we get 5 or more reviews in a week, you can see the change of new people finding the show, and it's really cool. And it's something that we cannot buy. Money can't buy it. We can't do it. Gonz and I can't work to get the same benefit. It is all up to the producers of the show to go to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and a review. And so I'm going to read 5 of them today. That leaves a few more to read in the future, but we will read them. So thank you very much. I'll do a couple right now. Starting with, let's see here, Redneck Ninja. Redneck Ninja from the United States left this on the 7th. 5 stars, destroying their objective. Yes. Okay, so this is back with the Georgia Guidestones. The destruction of the Georgia Guidestones is getting rid of their evidence. They don't want the sheeple to see how they have planned for a global population of 250 million.
I thought it was 500 million.
I think it was 500 million.
It's okay.
See, that's what happened. Not a knoll to be hidden, sheeple may revolt. So no evidence of their planned depopulation. Quite the theory there, Redneck Ninja. Thank you very much for the review. Next up, we have Fender Flip from the U.S. This was left on the 5th. Are they the best in the world? 5 stars. As I stumbled blindly through the intrepid desert of podcasts, I thought my fate was sealed. So long I had been without a worthy podcaster to quench my thirst for a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. Alas, it seemed all hope was lost. But then, on the horizon, Canary Cry News Talk shone bright, like the face of the sun, restoring my belief in sensible minds and in non-corporate podcasters who don't compromise when it comes to delivering realness and truth to my people in this dry, barren world of information crafted by lizard people and doled out to the poor, misguided public. Thanks, Basil and Gonz. Thank you very much, Fender Flip. Wonderful review.
Appreciate that.
Next up, we got North Gates from Canada. Left this on the 3rd. 5 stars, best current news delivery out there. Staying current with events du jour has never been more enjoyable than listening to you guys. Great format and having a way to make us feel relaxed while the daily insanities unfold. Thank you very much, North Gates.
North Gates. Appreciate it.
Yes. Got a quick one here. AJ Kiwi. Alex
Kiwi.
Jones.
Hold on.
Kiwi.
I'm trying to find. Is this another country? Is it not America?
Yeah. I got.
Okay.
Don't you worry, buddy. I got all my sources. Sure. This one came from AJ Kiwi in New Zealand on the 3rd. 5 stars. AJ, awesome current affairs show hosted by 2 of the most entertaining guys I've ever had the privilege of listening to. Thumbs up emoji.
Wow. Have you watched television or
take that,
video
Adam Carolla?
Adam Carolla. They're just really going after Adam Carolla, huh?
Dude, that's what he gets for stealing the Flippy update.
Yeah.
It's war.
Mm-hmm.
I have lots of wars with other content creators that they don't even know about.
They don't even know, yeah.
And I kind of prefer it that way.
Yeah.
So nobody
Joel
tell
Osteen doesn't know that
Joel
Basil has
Osteen,
been
you're still going down,
plotting
Joel.
his takeover podcast.
I'm surprised Joel is not more involved in the theocracy here.
You never know. That's actually peak.
He's the
peak.
Black Pope of American evangelical.
Those teeth are
CIA
so straight, though, man. That's
psyops.
Man, yeah. I don't think he drinks coffee. But go ahead.
Okay, that's it.
All right.
That's all the reviews I have for this one. Thank you, everybody. Remember, I know, I complain about it, but I'm so grateful to those who left the reviews. Again, if I could do it, if I could give us the same benefit myself that you guys give us by leaving reviews, I would. You know, I hate asking things of you, even though I do it about 12 times a show. But please go leave a rating on a review on Apple Podcasts. Every Apple device has it. It's a little purple icon. Search for Canary Cry News Talk. Leave a rating in a review. And I'm not even going to hurt your feelings with Gonz's grumpy uncle. Let's just give him the ooh woo one more time, and I think it's time to wake up.
Now, what are we doing? Are we just going to continue on like nothing has happened and do show? It's getting pretty late.
That is a great question. Yeah, I think we should let's scratch some of the let's just cut it down like this. Dum dum dum.
Good radio. Just editing a document. Real good.
I'm editing a
radio.
document. Yeah, what a great podcast this is. I'm glad thank you for all those great reviews. Now let me edit a document.
Just completely
in silence.
Sit in silence as we wait for Basil to.
Let's just cut this in half. You see what I did there?
I see what you did there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think that'll do
works.
It's a sacrifice, but it'll get us where we need to go.
Somebody needs to eat it. So okay.
We can put it in the next show doc, which actually exists now.
Oh, it does? You made one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure?
Go to Twitch, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is. You can find all those links at CanaryCry.Party as well. Too hot for YouTube.
YouTube.
Now you see me. Now you don't.
It's Corona time. COVID-19. COVID-19. COVID-19.
COVID-19. Yes.
COVID-19. COVID-19. COVID-19.